Anyone else? Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. And I just want to thank one of our constituents off Henderson Drive bringing this to our attention because it will be very helpful for deterrence. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we're on the substitute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The substitute is adopted, and we're back on the main motion. Last comments from members of the governing body. Hearing none, this is on third reading. Madam Clerk.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Dr. Aldrich,
Yes.
Mayor Collins,
Yes.
Dr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mr. Escabel,
Aye.
Mr. Laybourne,
Aye.
Mr. Moody,
Aye.
Dr. Rennie,
Yes.
Mr. Roybal,
Yes.
Mr. Seagrave.
Yes.
The ordinance is approved on third and final reading as amended.
Number 11, ordinance, second reading, amending and repealing multiple sections of Chapter 9.24 Weapons of Title 9 Public Peace and Welfare of the Municipal Code of the City of Cheyenne, Wyoming, relating to the sale, transport, discharge, possession, and regulation of firearms to better conform to state statute and avoid duplication with federal law.
All right, this ordinance is an attempt to bring city ordinance in conformance with state statute. Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak to this ordinance? Reagan, you have one on the online? We'll take it.
Mr. Mayor, we have Mr. Sheldon.
Alan, how are you tonight? Welcome.
Good. Yeah, Alan Sheldon, Ward 2. I just wanted to speak in support of this ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Brown, are you here to speak to us?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Exie Brown, Ward 2. I'm going to make this short and sweet that I also support this ordinance as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Another one?
Mr. Mark Jones, you can unmute yourself.
Mr. Jones, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mark Jones. I'm a national director with Gun Owners of America. I live up in Johnson County, Wyoming, and I support the effort that Mr. Moody, I think, has been leading there to clean up some of the Cheyenne ordinances. Obviously, with Wyoming has a preemption law. Cities and municipalities, counties cannot have laws not authorized by the legislature. And I think anything you can do to take these things off the books is good. You put officers in a strange position to where they're wondering if they should enforce something that's actually not allowed under state law. You actually even open the city up to potential lawsuits. So just remember that Wyoming does have a preemption law. Gun Owners of America, my organization, worked on that with senators and members of the House a couple years ago. So cities and municipalities can't enforce anything not authorized by the state legislature. So with that, I'll stand for any questions, and I appreciate the efforts that Mr. Moody's undertaken here.
We're happy that you're here with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience or online? All right, hearing none, we are going to Mr. Seagrave.
Mr. Mayor, the recommendation of the Public Services Committee is to approve on second reading, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. White. All right, comments from members of the governing body.
Mr. Mayor, I move proposed substitute number 11, dated July 11, 2025, 11:55 a.m.
Second.
All right, we have a substitute made by Mr. Moody, seconded by Dr. Aldrich.
And Mr. Mayor, I can briefly explain it. For pretty much, if you look on page 2 under 9.24.090 on page 2, especially for everybody in the audience and watching this recording, under letter B, where it says deadly weapon defined, okay, a firearm was re-added, limited to, it says a firearm, okay, it was placed back in. On the second sentence, after the words material or any was inserted there, just to clean up the grammar. And then finally, it does remove that deadly weapon does not include a firearm. So that's been changed there in letter B. C is the same. D has been removed because you are allowed to carry in your car. So D has been removed, and then E simply letter D just for consistency. And then finally, E, that's the big change. It says application to concealed weapons. It said this section shall not apply to any person lawfully carrying a concealed weapon is authorized pursuant to Wyoming statute sections 6-8-104 and 6-8-105 and any applicable rules lawfully promulgated consistent with Wyoming law. That is to be consistent with House Bill 172 that was sponsored by Representative Harrelson and allows those, again, with a valid concealed carry permit to carry within our public schools.
All right, you heard the explanation. Anybody in the audience want to speak to the amendment before us? Okay. How about from the governing body? Dr. Emmons?
Mr. Mayor, through you, I'm going to be a no on this tonight because I have a substitution. I don't have an issue, and I appreciate the sponsor cleaning up the language very much. I just have one other issue with the resolution, or the ordinance, I'm sorry. I have no problems with people buying guns, having guns. It's not about that. It's just one of the issues that's within the bill, or within the resolution.
Dr. Emmons, is that something we could modify this one to your satisfaction, or do you just want to vote no?
Mr. Mayor, we can modify it to my satisfaction if we take out 9.24.120. And the reasoning for that is after speaking with our attorneys, they did not feel that that was an issue. I looked at the statutes that Councilman Moody referenced in regard to the concerns, and I sent you all a document with that information on it. It is unconstitutional to have a federal registry of weapons. It is not, however, unconstitutional to have a true record made of each licensed manufacturer or dealer of each firearm sold, pledged as a security for a loan, transferred or otherwise disposed of at wholesale or retail. So I find the statutes that Councilman Moody is referencing to not applicable to this part of the code.
So, Dr. Emmons, are you moving to add that section 9.24.120 back into the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. So we have an amendment to the substitute on page 3 on section 9.24.120. There's some stricken language, and this amendment would then add that back into the ordinance as I understand it. Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Emmons and seconded by Mr. Seagrave to add that language back in. We'll go out to the audience. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this language that would basically just keep a record?
We have Mr. Sheldon with his hand raised.
Okay, Mr. Sheldon, welcome again.
Yeah, thanks, Alan Sheldon, Ward 2. As far as I'm concerned, we should just keep it stricken. So I oppose the amendment.
Okay. Jennifer, you have another one?
Yep, we also have Mr. Jones again.
Mr. Jones, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that the language you propose, or that the bringer of that amendment proposes, violates Wyoming State Statute 6-8-401. I don't think that everything has been taken in context in the explanation I've seen for this amendment. Some of the preceding language that was used to justify this was left out. So again, I would caution Cheyenne against trying to have gun regulations that conflict with state statute. I believe you're setting yourself up for trouble and potential lawsuit.
Thank you, sir. Sir, would you like to come forward? Please. If you just introduce yourself, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
My name is Bill Bryant, Ward 3.
Mr. Bryant, welcome.
Thank you. I'll make this short and brief, Mr. Mayor, Council, respect. There's an issue here with this that's the core root of the state of Wyoming. Wyoming is, as of the last election, confirmed as one of the most conservative states in the Union. Originally, I am from California, born in the 50s. And I have seen the transition of that state start with something this minor. We do not have a registration for firearms in this state for good reason, and I have not seen any particular reason to start. In California, in the 60s, things started with very minor actions. That was the seed. That was the beachhead. And it grew into what California is today. Pretty much everybody in this room is old enough to remember what Colorado was, of which my wife is from Colorado Springs. We've been married 47 years. And we watched the transition of that state. Something insignificant was added, and then it grew. And that seed grew into a redwood forest that cannot be changed now. Wyoming is pretty much, for the sake of a simple phrase, pure territory. We don't have these seeds in this state yet. If you do this, essentially just this minor act is now becoming passive firearms registration. If law enforcement needs to investigate a firearm used in a crime, they have the means to do that already. Granted, it's not as easy as just snapping your fingers, but they can still do that. What I urge is, don't let that seed get planted here, not in this state, because this state will eventually, in time, turn into something that we will not recognize.
Sir, if I understand correctly, this language is already in city ordinance, and the resolution that Mr. Moody, or the ordinance Mr. Moody brought, strikes it, and what's being asked is just to restate what's already in our current ordinance. So the seed has been planted, and now the question is, do we leave it or we take it out?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Understood.
Take it out.
But I just wanted you to understand, it's not adding language, it's language that's already there, and the question is, what do we do with it?
Right, well, that's the whole point of what I
Understood.
was trying to make, was don't leave it there. Pull it out before it has a chance to take root. And don't let another one try to be planted again. And that was the main point that I was trying to make.
So appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, respect to the council and the mayor.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Mr. Mayor, I just would like to give Deputy City Attorney David Hopkinson did have his hand raised, and we just didn't get to him. So I don't know if he'd still like to speak on the amendment.
Attorney Hopkinson, welcome. David, are you there? Are you muted?
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
We can hear you beautifully, sir. Welcome.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. I apologize, Jennifer, if I raised my hand. I didn't intend to, so that's all I want to say on that. So I don't have anything to add at this time, unless the council has any questions about the
do you have any
legality.
comments on Wyoming Statute 68401?
So with respect to that statute, it does, and particularly with the amendments that were made in House Bill 172, create a rather extensive preemption for the state. And certainly I think the intent of that bill was to leave the regulations of firearms with the state and kind of pulled that back from municipalities or other agencies or any local government. They did leave some exceptions in there, one of which towards the end of that section and in subsection C in particular references ordinances. Excuse me, I was just looking at it here. And zoning regulations. So there is potentially an argument to make that having language requiring a record is not a prohibited regulation, in the sense that it's more of a business regulation, as opposed to a regulation intended to prohibit the sale, purchase, transfer, manufacture of firearms. So the short answer is, I think there certainly are arguments either way, and ultimately, that would have to be decided by a judge, and ultimately, of course, is a political question up to this council as far as which direction they want to go.
Appreciate you, David. Thank you for being here. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Lexi Brown, Ward 2. I am on and against this amendment. I think that the language still needs to remain stricken per Councilman Moody's ordinance. And as you know, Mr. Jones says, this could be setting up the city for a potential lawsuit, and we do not want to face that. So again, on and against this amendment.
Anyone else?
We have Kathy Sigliano with her hand raised.
Ms. Sigliano, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, I just wanted to, Kathy Sigliano, Ward 3. I am in agreement with Councilmember Moody's suggestions and would just like to say that I am against the amendment that Councilmember Emmons is providing. Thank you.
Thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you.
All right, we have an amendment to put section 9.24.120 back in the ordinance. Anybody else in the audience want to speak to that? All right, hearing none, how about from the governing body?
Point of clarification, Mayor.
Yes.
If we vote for, if we are wanting to vote for one of these amendments but not both of the amendments, now we're in a position where we have to vote for the two because they've been combined?
No, ma'am. The substitute is on the floor, and all we're doing right now is an amendment to the substitute, which is just this one paragraph.
Thank you.
And it's a yes or no on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Appreciate my colleague, but if you read it in plain language here, I did ask several attorneys regarding this plain language. And again, to the audience, it's 6-8-401 everybody has in front of them. If you read the first sentence within this, it says the sale, it states the sale, transfer, purchase, delivery, taxation, manufacture, ownership, transportation, storage, use, and possession of firearms, weapons, and ammunition shall be authorized, regulated, prohibited by the state, and regulation therefore is preempted by the state. Keyword shall, and then regulated. And then based on that part, it means the state can only regulate it, transfer the purchase. And then looking at the second sentence, it says, except as authorized by Wyoming Statute 15-1-103A, 18, and 21-3-132. It says, no city, town, county, political subdivision, or any other entity shall authorize, regulate, or prohibit the sale, transfer, purchase, delivery, taxation, manufacture, ownership, transportation, storage, use, carrying, or possession of firearms, weapons, accessories, components, or ammunition except as specifically provided by this chapter. Based on that, no political subdivision shall authorize, regulate, or prohibit the sale, transfer, purchase, of any firearms. Very plain language, and the Wyoming Supreme Court has even said plain language means what it says. And then finally, the very last one, that's the one everyone's looking at. The very last sentence says this section shall not affect zoning or other ordinances which encompass firearm businesses along with other businesses. Zoning and other ordinances which are designed for the purpose of restricting, a keyword, restricting or prohibiting the sale, purchase, transfer, or manufacture of firearms or ammunition as a method of regulating firearms or ammunition are in conflict with this section are prohibited. So the zoning and ordinance applies more to where the business can be, looking at more environmental aspects, looking at where they can locate, say reference to a school, and that has nothing to do with the actual sale of the firearms themselves. It's clear language in here, and that is what several attorneys have told me. So it's looking at where it can be placed, not the actual sale within, because again, that's by the state. So that's why I urge a no vote, because we could potentially be facing lawsuits. And I do want to say, I recently purchased a firearm in November from a firearms dealer. All I had to do is the FFL form. Okay, that's all I had to do. I didn't have to do any city warrants there. This thing's been on the books for so long, it's mute. It's not even being enforced. And plus, how's it going to be enforced here anyway if we were to have it? So again, that's why I urge a no vote, because like I said, a lot of us purchased it anyway, and you know, it's not even there by city. All it is FFL. Thank you.
Dr. Emmons.
I could not agree more with my colleague as to what the rule says, the state statute says. However, what you're not reading is that this does not interfere with the purchase, the delivery, the transfer, or the sale of a firearm. It has nothing to do with prohibiting the purchase of firearms. All this does is to continue to make sure that a licensed manufacturer or dealer has record of where those firearms are sold. It does not say it cannot be sold. It does not say it cannot be, that there cannot be a requirement to track this. It just says it cannot interfere with the ability to obtain a firearm. So because of that, I would encourage you to vote yes on the amendment. Thank you.
Any other comments from the governing body?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Aldridge.
Mayor Collins, through you. I will be a no vote on the amendment to the amendment, and that is because I believe that the FFL form, which is required, is plenty of documentation. I have also had the experience of buying actually 3 firearms in the last 12 months and have never had to fill out anything other than the FFL, and all 3 of those guns were purchased at 2 different dealerships here in Cheyenne. So I don't believe that that is being followed. I think the FFL form is plenty of documentation, and I don't see the reason to put more regulation and more requirements on our small business owners, which most of our gun dealers in town are, if they're not in a box store. So for that reason, I will be a no vote on the proposed amendment sponsored by Dr. Emmons.
Anybody else in the governing body? All right. The motion is to add section 9.24.120 back into the ordinance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, that fails. And we're back on the substitute. Comments from members of the governing body on the substitute?
Yes. Hi. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Yes, please vote aye on this. This is clean up the language, and I did hear from comments to allow for school resource officers to charge somebody potentially violating House Bill 172 without the permit, and also for underage students that carry a firearm, they can be charged as well. So it is a resource for law enforcement for school resource officers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none, we're on the substitute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? No. The substitute is adopted with Dr. Emmons voting no. All right, we're back on the main motion. Last comments from the members of the governing body. Hearing none, we're on second reading. Nope. We're on second reading. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? No. The ordinance is approved on second reading as amended with Dr. Emmons voting no.
Number 12, ordinance first reading, annexing to the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, various tracts of land completely surrounded by current city limits, situate in eastern Cheyenne, generally located south of Del Range Boulevard, east of Dry Creek, west of Whitney Road, and north of Charles Street.
We'll send this one to the Public Services Committee.
Ordinance first reading, amending the official zoning map of the city of Cheyenne, establishing the zoning classifications of AR, agricultural residential, MR, medium density residential, HR, high density residential, CB, community business, and MUR, mixed use residential, for land annexed to the city of Cheyenne, generally located south of Del Range Boulevard, east of Dry Creek, west of Whitney Road, and north of Charles Street.
This one will also go to Public Services.
Ordinance first reading, amending the official zoning map of the city of Cheyenne, changing the zoning classification for land located south of Interstate 80 and west of Round Top Road from LI, light industrial, to BP, business park.
This one will go to the Public Services Committee.
Ordinance first reading, defining the terms and conditions of employment for sworn officers of the Cheyenne Police Department for fiscal year 2025-2026.
This one will go to the Finance Committee.
Ordinance first reading to amend the official zoning map of the Cheyenne Unified Development Code for property located east of South Greeley Highway and north of Chalk Bluff Road in Cheyenne, Wyoming, changing the zoning classification from HI, heavy industrial, and AG, agricultural, to BP, business park.
We'll send this one to the Public Services Committee.
Resolution directing the city of Cheyenne to list the Cheyenne Auxiliary Pumping Station located at 1504 Dillon Avenue, Cheyenne, Wyoming, for sale to the public as specified.
All right, this is an effort to find a buyer for the city's owned pump house by listing it for sale. We'll go out to the audience and see if anybody wants to speak to that. Nice to have the Historic Preservation Board. You can go right there if you want. Thanks for being here, Mr. Simpson.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body. Millward Simpson, Ward 3, current chair of the Cheyenne Historic Preservation Board. Just here to reiterate that the board feels very strongly, and as reflected in a motion that we passed at our June regular meeting, that the original pump house structure not be put into surplus but be preserved. That being said, I would also like to express that we all appreciate very much that the conditions that we asked be included in the resolution, should it be put up into surplus, have been baked in, so to speak, to the language as it is, and we appreciate that very much. And I won't reiterate or belabor any of the history of the building. You've had several reports, opportunities to tour the site. And Historic Cheyenne, among others, have done, I think, a great job of explaining the history of this unique structure and how important it is. And we also agree that this is a very unique building, a cornerstone of our history here in Cheyenne. And as with all of our important history in Cheyenne, it's an important part and always has been of our civic pride, of our identity, and it certainly has been something that we've successfully leveraged for forever in Cheyenne on behalf of tourism and economic development. The most stark example of that is going to descend on our city next week in the daddy of them all. We feel on the board that this building has great potential. It's in good shape. It has great potential for what we call adaptive reuse, and could be rendered again eligible for the register, which would open up to the possibility of historic preservation tax credits. And we think it could be a very important anchor component of West Edge revitalization. We'd like you to keep those things in mind as you're deliberating, and we appreciate your support of our history and of the board. Thank you.
Jennifer, go ahead.
We have Kathy Sigliano with her hand raised.
Kathy, welcome again.
Hello, Kathy Sigliano, Ward 3. I'm in support of selling the pump house to a private party. I think this building would be nothing but a money pit in the end. Could be very costly, so much more than what I think is even intended on what we think it could cost to rehab it. I think if there's a concern about preservation, there could be a condition put in to the private entity that would possibly purchase it to try and keep any aesthetic or history if possible. That may in the end not be something that a private party would want to do, but I think in the beginning that could be something we could try to put out to any private parties that would be interested in the building itself. I mean, I do agree that it is a staple of our community, and it's certainly a cool building, but I just don't think that the city should be taking on such a big project. I think it could end up being more costly than we would want.
Ms. Sigliano, I'm just curious, calling this building a money pit and then expecting somebody to buy it. I'm wondering how you would maybe answer that criticism.
I mean, I think there's probably private investors out there that see buildings that are like this and have a vision and could possibly have the money to dump into it that would be needed. I don't know if there has been any kind of soil studies or anything on the property. If there is, it would be great to know that information. But I don't think anyone can tell exactly what the rehab cost could be on that until you get started. And then once you're in that, you would, possibly see what kind of turmoil it could be. And I do believe that there are private companies out there that look for specific things like this, and they have a vision beyond what I think others could have and could see it as. And I think letting them go on to that business venture would be more appropriate than our city.
Thanks for being here this evening.
Yep, thank you.
Any more, Jennifer? How about anybody else in the audience that wants to speak this evening? Okay. Mr. Laybourne.
Mr. Mayor.
You turn your microphone on, please, sir.
Yeah, just a minute. I can do it.
That's just helping you. You're busy. That's helping you.
Mr. Mayor, this matter came before the Finance Committee, and the recommendation of the Finance Committee is to adopt, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moody. Comments from members of the governing body.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Aldridge.
Mayor Collins, thank you. I just wanted to note that I know that Mrs. Sigliano had mentioned the conditions about that we might be able to add, and that's actually those were some of the conditions that the Historic Preservation Board suggested that have been added to this resolution. We don't know what we don't know, and until we put it out for sale, we don't know if there's somebody in our community or looking for an iconic property like this that would like to invest in it. I think in order for us to do our due diligence, we need to know what all of the options are. I don't think that letting it continue to sit and deteriorate is one of those options. So I think we need to figure out what our options are and to do our due diligence in finding that out and seeing if there's anyone in our community or who's looking at coming to our community that would be interested in restoring this building. We've seen amazing things done in historic buildings downtown on 15th Street with the MHP renewal and the renewal done by Alexis Drake and the renewal that's been done all along 15th Street that used to be in pretty bad shape with those buildings. And I think that we need to have the opportunity for this one to possibly be renovated or restored through a private entity or through a public-private partnership, but we won't know until we put it out there. So I'm excited to have it in the public conversation and in the arena and see what might happen and be available for it. I would encourage you to vote yes on this.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Seagrave.
Mr. Mayor, has this, there's a recommended substitute for this item. Has it already been approved? Is it part of the original motion?
Yes.
Jennifer's given a thumbs up.
It has.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just to be clear, it was recommended through, so the substitute dated.
Before the postponement.
Yeah. No, they made a substitute also in committee, so it's dated July 7th of 2025.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I'm correct, it's a resolution that has already had a substitute, and that's the recommendation coming from committee.
Jennifer, is that correct? That the substitute's already in the resolution?
No.
That's what Mr. Seeger was asking. We still need to make that substitute dated 7/7/25.
We need to make that amendment or that substitute came out of committee as a substitute. There was a substitute that they were on originally in committee that was before the postponement, but then they amended it additionally in Finance Committee.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Brody.
If I may, John Brody, City Attorney. I would just say that there was a substitute that had been previously adopted. There was now a second substitute that the committee recommended out of the Finance Committee, and that if the committee wants to take that up, it still needs to be considered.
And that's the one dated July. We got a bunch of substitutes up here on this one. The one that's dated July 7th at 9:16 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So the July 7th has not been proposed. It is not part of the resolution.
No, sir. It needs to be made in order to get it on the record.
So we are simply dealing with the original resolution.
Correct. Do you want to
Mr.
make
Mayor?
that substitute?
Just a quick question. We also have a substitute dated July 11th.
Yes.
Is that a substitute to this substitute?
Is that one that you were going to make, Mr. Seagrave?
Mr. Mayor, I was going to propose a substitute dated July 11th, but I didn't know if I wanted to make sure that July 7th had not been included. Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to substitute dated July 11th, 2025.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Seagrave, seconded by Dr. Rainey for the substitute date at 11:46 a.m. on July 11th. And hopefully that's the one that was in everybody's packet when they came in this evening sitting on this dais. Mr. Seagrave, do you want to explain your?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr. Aldrich had proposed the substitute that says recommended on it, dated July 7th. And I believe the intent was to clarify some of the items that we discussed 2 weeks ago. And that is not part of the current discussion. I have her exact language, except I added a paragraph at the end. Be it further resolved that if the pump house parcel has not been sold or leased and no valid contract for sale or lease exists on or before January 14th, 2026, the city shall cease further efforts to sell or lease the property and shall proceed with demolition of the structure and repurposing of the parcel for a beneficial community use, such as integration into the adjacent natural landscape. The city shall solicit bids or issue a request for proposal for demolition and site conversion in accordance with the city policy as deemed appropriate by the Director of Public Works in consultation with the City Purchasing Office. City staff is further directed to identify a source of funding for the demolition and site conversion from available appropriated funds. So that is the only language that has been added to Dr. Aldrich's July 7th recommended substitute. And if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
The city has been dealing with this piece of property on and off for, we've heard testimony, decades. Nothing has ever been done. We've never mothballed it. It's a nuisance. We have vagrants living there, drug use, et cetera, et cetera. We've heard all that testimony. All I'm saying is I hope it sells. I hope that in the next 6 months that the property sells. But if it doesn't, it's time for this governing body to take ownership and if this was a private piece of property, Mr. Fountain would be out there insisting that it be demolished today. So that's the substitute I've recommended. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the explanation. We'll go out to the audience. I believe the substitute talks about leasing or selling the property, having an appraisal or a market analysis done, and if it doesn't sell, then there would be an effort then to demolish the building and bring the site up to some sort of native thing. Comments from the, I'm sorry?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to this
Let's go out to the audience first.
substitute.
Oh. Go ahead.
I believe that in the third, now therefore resolved, we should bring language in at the end of that paragraph that an existing contract with an appropriate architectural firm may be used to estimate the cost of demolition as the contract permits. An estimate of cost and an identified source of funding shall be presented to the governing body prior to demolition. You want a second there?
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Well, the reasoning behind this is pretty obvious. Having been involved in the pump house for many years, and in fact designated the champion of the pump house by this group, I do want to point out that where we're at tonight, and complicated as it might be, we are at a point of evaluating what's going to happen and hopefully arriving at some kind of conclusion within the foreseeable future. Now, we have a proposal for a $4 million complete rehabilitation. We have a proposal from the architectural firm for a $1 million stabilization. And I think that with this proposal to sell, which I would refer everyone to, that this isn't the first time that this has been tried. It was tried previously, and it was found that there were no one would propose to purchase it. But in the interest of having all the options on the table, and noting that in this current resolution, it references demolition several times, we need to know what that cost of demolition might be. I think that's only appropriate when we evaluate those options, rather than having this opportunity, I guess you could say, to evaluate exactly what we should do with this particular property. If that's the case, we have options of selling it, we have options of rehabilitating it ourselves. But if the desire is to eventually demolish it, if these other elements don't come to pass, I think we need to know what that cost might be. And that's why, because I think it'll be quite substantial. So that's the reasoning for my amendment here. And I believe that it's only appropriate that those identified sources of funding shall be presented to the governing body prior to demolition. So that's the reasoning behind my amendment. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to get confused here because we have amendments to substitutes to amendments, but I think we're going to get through this. So let's start with the first one, and that is Mr. Laybourne's amendment, seconded by Dr. Aldridge, which is to add to Mr. Seagrave's substitute that before it's demolished, the cost of demolition and funding sources are presented to the governing body. Did I understand that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll go out to the audience. Do you want to talk about Mr. Laybourne's amendment to our substitute? Yes, Jennifer.
We have Miss Stephanie Lowe with her hand raised.
Stephanie, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Stephanie Lowe, President, Historic Cheyenne, Inc. Just wanted to speak mostly to the amendment that Mr. Seagrave presented, but I am in support of Mr. Laybourne's amendment to ask for a cost on what that demolition would be. So I will continue to wait until this item is passed or rejected.
We'll come back to you, ma'am. Thank you. Anybody else in the audience want to speak to Mr. Laybourne's amendment to the substitute? How about from the governing body?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor.
Dr. Rainey.
It seems to me that if it came to the point where we would actually have this building or any building demolished, that we would have to, in all likelihood, we would send it out for bids, and with the bids, then we would know exactly what that was going to cost. And as a result, if we didn't like it, we could reject all bids. So I think our procedures already would dictate that we would have this information. So the amendment may be redundant, Mr. Mayor, and I would probably oppose it.
Dr. Aldridge.
Mayor Collins, through you. I believe that this amendment causes us to not have to actually go through a formal bid process. My understanding is we still have money left on our contract with TDSI, who could give us an estimate for what that demolition might be. I think we ask a lot sometimes of people to do a bid, and it's a complex bid process that we have in order to just get estimates so that we can then reject all the bids. So I think in doing our due diligence, we need to make sure we know what the cost would be. And I don't know that by having people put in bids and go to that effort and energy, that that's ideal. So for that reason, I'm going to support this amendment.
Anybody else in the governing body? All right, the motion is to add the cost of demolition and a funding source to the substitute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
May I see the hands of the noes. Mr. Seagrave, Mr. Roybold, Dr. Emmons, Dr. Rainey. Is anybody on this side?
Up to you.
Okay. This amendment passes, and we are on the substitute. Comments from members of the governing body on the substitute, which would, if at a certain point of time, Mr. Seagrave, what was the timeline on that?
January 14th.
January 14th.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to go to the public. I don't think we ever went to the public.
Let's do that. Thank you, sir. Anybody want to talk about this? Thank you, Mr. Seagrave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, Millward Simpson, Chair, Cheyenne Historic Preservation Board, Ward 3. You won't be surprised to hear me testify that it would be an enormous loss and tragedy for Cheyenne and for our history for this building to be torn down. I think that there are much more significant things at stake here than simply acting on the fact that we haven't been able to find the right solution in the past. I don't think the fact that nothing has been done so far, although regrettable and unfortunate, forecloses on the possibility there could be solutions in the near future. I've heard this governing body talk about such things, and you may perhaps talk about it tonight as a six-penny possibility. I think there are many possibilities that perhaps haven't been explored yet that would be preferable to losing a really important and unique part of our history. I think the tragedy and loss to the city and its citizens would be really incalculable. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie, did you want to come back to us now? Ms. Lowe?
Good evening, Council and Chamber. Stephanie Lowe, President, Historic Cheyenne, Inc. I just would like to, I don't know if this is getting in the weeds at this point in time, but if the substitution passes to add the language that by the deadline, if nothing happens, the city will move forward with demolition, I would encourage through either TDSI or another contractor or firm in town to explore salvaging some items from the building and installing some sort of historic interpretation at the site, if it's going to be made a park or some sort of natural vista along the greenway, to tell the story of the building. There's a lot in that building that can be salvaged, that can still showcase to the community what this building was, what the site was, and the importance it was to Cheyenne growing and developing. Also, changing hats here, I also work for the design studio, and the original resolution actually cancels our contract with the city. And so if it's going to be explored to work with TDSI to put together a cost for demolition, that probably should be considered tonight, or a separate bid or something can be handled, but just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. Is anybody else on the audience want to speak to the substitute, which creates this January 14th date as a deadline? And if not, we would look at demoing the pump house. Anybody else? Okay, now we'll go back to the governing body. Thank you again, Mr. Seagrave. Mr. Roybal?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. When this first came out, I made a statement that I would not support this in any shape nor form because of the Carnegie and a couple of the other important buildings that were taken down. And I said, as a salesman, the deal always starts here. And that was just to see if anybody would buy it. Now it got in the mix, we're going to tear it down. So that deal has evolved in the last 45 days from seeing what we're going to do to putting it on the ground and, dragging some rocks around. So I'm going to be a no on it tonight and anytime it comes up. Thank you.
Dr. Emmons?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. One, I understand that the state statute says that we can deny all bids if we don't like them. But are we looking for a minimum bid in this, or are we just shooting for whatever?
Ma'am, I don't see anything in here that requires a minimum bid or anything, just
Okay.
that we have to try to sell it.
So then my second question is, if we don't get a tenable bid on it, can we donate the building to someone else, like the Historic Society or someone? Would that be an option? It appears to me that the crux of this, and I'm new, so I could be totally missing this, but it seems like the crux of this is we've not really made a commitment, a decision on our commitment to the building. Are we committed to saving the building, or are we not? And if we're committed to saving the building, it would appear that there may be options other than trying to sell it or knock it down. I don't personally, having been in business, I don't think anybody's going to buy it, when you look at the work that's involved. And we heard a realtor talk about, her description of it. So I just feel like maybe we need to think a little bit broader outside of the box, and I didn't know if those were options or not.
Mr. Brody, do you want to talk about what state law says if we wanted to give this building to somebody?
Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to. So John Brody, City Attorney. What I would say is that the disposition of this building is going to be controlled by statute. We chatted about this, I believe, at the first reading. Wyoming Statute 15-1-112. Under subsection A, the city would have to, or wouldn't have to, but the city is required to sell to the highest qualified bidder. That's kind of within the discretion of the city council, as to what qualified is. To your question on whether we can just simply donate the building, I would say largely the answer is no. We can certainly make donations in support of the poor under the Constitution, but otherwise we need to have, there needs to be consideration and a public purpose as part of that deal. There are there are allowances in that statute that I referenced under subsection B that give the council a little bit more discretion on how it disposes of property. It can trade the property, it can do other things, but that would maybe be more in line with your comments on exploring other avenues.
Mr. Seagrave.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. This has been a council goal to restore this building for a period of time, and unfortunately things have changed in the last year. Our legislature has made decisions on property taxes that affect our income and our budgeting process. Dr. Aldrich has pointed out with her proposed or the recommended substitute that several times she's indicated that she does not believe we have funds available to mothball or renovate this project. And that's, I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, but I believe that's why she thought we ought to try to sell it. And I'm good with that. I think we should try to sell it. I was disappointed to learn that we cannot aggressively try to sell it. We can't hire a realtor or anything of that nature that a normal entity might do. Apparently we can only publish it in the newspaper that the building's for sale. I don't know what that's going to do. Unfortunately, I think we need to be realistic. If the building does not sell, or if we cannot trade it, or we cannot donate it, that continuing to go on for another decade or 2 decades and have the building deteriorate even further is not good for the public. Our number one responsibility is public health and safety. And that is a terrible location there. It has been a terrible location for transients and fires and drug abuse, and so I don't think by continuing to keep it for another decade, I don't believe we're doing our basic job as councilmen. So I agree with the opportunity to try to sell. I did not change any of that language. I just added on to it, and that's where we're at tonight. Thank you.
Dr. Aldrich.
Mayor Collins, to you. I'm just. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, we've already gone past public comment. Ma'am, we've already gone past. You have to listen, okay? When I ask for public comment, that's your turn. We've already passed it. I'll let you do it. I'll let you do it this one time, but you have to listen when it's your turn, okay? So you push the button and introduce yourself again. Talk into the microphone.
Pardon?
Talk into the microphone. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the transient, when I first came here in 1978, you know the two magnificent mansions on 17th Street, one's across from the other. He showed them to me, and no one was living in them at the time. And I went into one of them. I don't know the name of them now, but one's a bed and breakfast now. But one of them is there were things on the floor, beds, clothes and stuff on the floor. And I asked my friend who's from here, I said, "What are these?" And he said, "They're transients." And in other words, homeless people were living in it. This is one of your beautiful, turn of the century mansions. So regarding the transient aspect, that means nothing. They get in everywhere, and they did into those beautiful mansions at the time in 1978. I'd like to point that out, that it's irrelevant that there's transient. They just could get everywhere. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Aldrich.
Mayor Collins, through you, I appreciate Councilman Seagrave's thought on this. I'm always, and maybe too Pollyannish in this belief, but I'm always hopeful that there will be someone who will come forward, and that my understanding, I'd like to confirm this with the city attorney, my understanding in talking with Mr. Hopkinson about this is that we do have the right of refusal of all bids, that we can choose not to accept the bids. And I also don't know that in this resolution, it terminates the contract with TDSI, as was stated by Ms. Lowe. So those are two questions that I have. But I agree with Mr. Seagrave that we do need to explore all of our options.
Mr. Brody.
Mr. Mayor, John.
Ma'am? Ma'am, I apologize for that. I don't want to be rude, but you have. I apologize, ma'am. I don't want to be rude. Mr. Brody.
Mr. Mayor, to Dr. Aldrich's questions, yeah, the city can refuse the bids. Yeah, I mean, if you don't find a responsible bidder, then you don't find a responsible bidder. When it comes to whether the TDSI contract would be canceled by virtue of adoption of this resolution, I don't read it that way. I think that contract can continue. It doesn't impede, as it's amended, that contract wouldn't impede the policy for this resolution, and it would actually support it.
Any other comments from members of the governing body?
Mr. Mayor?
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, this is something that's boiled and roiled the community for many years of how we actually do historic architectural preservation, and I'm pleased to note that we've done a lot better over the past period of time that we had a historic preservation board, and that they were diligent in their efforts to make people aware of the historic districts and the law regarding demolition. I would say that with my amendment, we're going to have more knowledge, and this is going to go on for some time. I think that we've raised some questions here. I think people are more aware of this tucked away, very unique building. I am disappointed we haven't had more discussion of its site, because there's a lot more to that site than just the building itself. There's the unused path that winds from Ames Avenue up to Snyder that I think should be open to the public. There is the wetland treatment of stormwater that is a contract that we have with the Department of Environment and Quality, and there was a tremendous amount of money spent on that site besides the pump house. So I think that we're making progress here in terms of trying to understand what and how might happen. I think that there's more to learn, and this certainly raises some questions that can be answered and should be answered by professionals in the field and accurately represented. So I speak in favor of the amended resolution, and I believe that it will be helpful for us to continue to think about this and figure out a way to avoid that demolition, because I can assure you that would be quite controversial and probably not beneficial to that neighborhood. The pump house, the site itself are very, very much part of the West Edge vision and so noted in numerous city documents. There's no doubt that this is included in the 15th Street and the Reed Avenue corridor plan and is to be included in that matter to begin with. I would conclude by pointing out that there are ways to secure a building and there are ways to monitor that building. The idea that it is inevitable that people break in and live there is not realistic. It can be done. and it should be done. And we need to consider this in light of the other elements that we have adopted, that the citizens have voted on, and that are very much part of a overall effort on the west side that can really bring some great results if we will persevere. Thank you.
Mr. White, did you have comments, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, through you. Speaking in favor of the amended resolution and also in favor of the efforts to potentially sell this building. The first time I was ever on this building grounds, lived here my whole life, was the tour that we took after the work session. And I agree with Ms. Lowe that demolishing this structure would be a profound loss, just an immeasurable loss, much like what occurred in the 60s when the Carnegie Library was destroyed. I would ask my colleagues who were around at the time, the top whereas in this resolution, back in 2020, when we adopted the resolution 6039 to look at selling the pump house. What occurred a week later? COVID, exactly. And you couldn't ask for worse timing. There was no one that was going to purchase that property at that time. And in fact, as we were preparing the budget that year, we had to make severe cuts to the city budget and had to lay people off. So it's a new time. The economy's stronger, and I think the potential for sale, maybe someone won't. Maybe someone won't buy it. But how do we know if we don't try? And with the stipulations in the amendment or the amended resolution requiring that the historical aspects be maintained should it sell, makes me more comfortable with it. So I'll be supporting this tonight.
All right, I believe we're still on the substitute, is that correct? Any other comments on the substitute? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? No. Mr. Escabel, Mr. Roybal are noes. The substitute is adopted, and we're now back on the main motion. Last comments from members of the governing body. Maybe they've already been made, but anybody else? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the resolution to sell or try to sell the historic pump house, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? No. The resolution is approved as amended with Misters Escabel and Roybal voting no.
Next item is number 20 on page 4. Resolution directing that plans for the 15th Street Corridor Revitalization Project preserve the Cheyenne Gunslingers' current location, layout, buildings, and landscaping at West 15th Street and Pioneer Avenue.
All right, this is a resolution that would prevent modifying the current footprint of the Gunslingers through our 15th Street Rail Corridor Revitalization Plan. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah, they're just Logan up.
Good evening, ma'am, and welcome. Ma'am, could you, yeah, there you go. Thank you so much.
My name is Victoria Pike. I'm a citizen in Cheyenne, and I just want to say that I am in support of the Gunslingers remaining where they are without any interference with their set or anything else, and I have a petition that I'd like to submit that supports that.
Thank you, ma'am. You can bring it right here if you like.
Okay.
Do we have that?
No.
Let me just give it to the clerk.
Jennifer has her hand up.
I said that. Marshall, did you want to come forward?
Timing is everything. I waited all that time to go to the restroom, and then as soon as...
Please introduce yourself, sir.
Oh, boy. Well, my name's Roger Barnes, and I'm the Chief Marshal of Cheyenne Gunslingers. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Good to see you. Howdy, everybody. Where was I? Oh, this is the fourth time I've stood at this podium in an effort to explain why the gunslingers are important to the downtown merchants of Cheyenne, why their location is the linchpin of their support, and why the formula that the gunslingers use to draw and entertain both visitors and residents alike is the key to their success. A disruption to either the location where they perform or the staging of their performance area will have a detrimental effect on their ability to draw people to the downtown area. The gunslingers have been assured on many occasions that the placement of these railroad cars on 15th Street will not displace them, but that they will need to change the way they do things. As I mentioned earlier, the way they do things is the key to their success. This also begs the question, why do the gunslingers have to conform? They have been performing in downtown Cheyenne since the summer of 1983. They are made up of volunteers and obtain funding through sponsorships, souvenir sales, and donations. They don't cost the city anything, and they contribute a great deal. Several weeks ago, a petition drive was started on behalf of the gunslingers to try to persuade the city council to abandon their current plans of placing these railroad cars on 15th Street in a way that disrupts or even displaces the Cheyenne gunslingers. It has grown considerably over the past several weeks and shows two things: the support that the gunslingers have, and that the public does not seem to trust that the council will do the right thing concerning the Cheyenne gunslingers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Seagrave.
could I ask Mr. Barnes a couple of
You may.
questions? Thank you, sir. Mr. Barnes, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, I think.
Good. Mr. Barnes, who are your supporters?
Well, currently, if you're talking about sponsors in specific,
sponsors are
specifically
good.
sponsors, we have 6 that I know of at this point. There's, of course, there's different degrees of sponsorship. We treat them all the same, but they attain sponsorship in different ways. Like Cashwa Distributing, they're a sponsor, and they support us by supplying us with our soda pop that we sell at our souvenir stand. We have, of course, we have the Albany Restaurant, which we always sending people to the Albany Restaurant, and the Village Inn, and I believe they actually pay us $250 a year for each restaurant to actually promote them to our audience. We have. I just did a blank. I just looked at the sponsor board. We have a sponsor board that we have there, and that's how we basically justify our sponsors giving us money to do things. We've always gotten grants from Walmart and Sam's Club. We use that to buy umbrellas for the tables and usually water for our concession stand as well.
Who would you consider to be your biggest supporter?
I would have to say Wrangler Boot Barn. And it's simply, the only thing that they do actually is provide us with the hats that we give at the end of a show. If you've never seen our shows, at the end we always hang a tourist for dressing inappropriately for a gunfight. And rather than string them up because the sheriff comes by and stops us from doing it, he says you can't hang tourists, because I had lunch with the mayor recently and he said we can't be hanging tourists if they're going to spend money in Cheyenne. we need the money, so we always give them a hat, and those hats we get from the Wrangler Boot Barn. And I was privy to getting accidentally an invoice for those hats, and they actually the invoice was for like $15 a hat, and they give us somewhere in the order of $80 a year.
Mr. Barnes, I think your biggest supporter is the city of Cheyenne.
Oh, well, okay. I was thinking Monetario, but yeah.
Who built your buildings for you when you moved?
I honestly don't know, but I believe it was the city.
And how about the picnic tables that are out front? Who supplied those?
Those migrated over to us with time from the Depot Plaza.
The city. Mm-hmm. And who maintains your grass and your grounds and cleans up and does that kind of thing?
Well, the city does that too.
Yeah. So I think the city's probably your biggest supporter.
Huh?
So basically what you're telling us tonight is the city owns the property.
Yep.
They own the buildings.
Yep.
They own the picnic tables.
Yep.
And you're telling us we can't move our property.
Well, what I'm telling you is that the gunslingers don't cost you anything for us to promote the city because you're depreciated out. I mean, we've been there for 16 years. I mean, the buildings are depreciated out. The water doesn't cost very much.
So the buildings aren't any good anymore?
Sure they are, but they're depreciated out. I'm sure they've been depreciated in 10 years.
And the labor to maintain the property?
We do that.
No.
We
Clean and safe?
We maintain the building structures. We maintain the interior of the buildings. We maintain the area around. The only thing the city does is mow the grass and fertilize and pay for the water that goes through the sprinkler system.
And the property? I think you pay $1 a year for the property, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
To the Depot Museum.
Which has a lease with the city.
Mhm.
So it's our city property, it's our city buildings, it's our city picnic tables. We maintain the grass in the surrounding area.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And I think we probably more than contribute that much back to the city by attracting tourists and downtown business.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Barnes, for being here.
Any other questions?
Jennifer?
Mr. Chair, through you.
Oh, wait a second. Go ahead.
Mr. Barnes, just a quick question. I grew up in Cheyenne, so I've seen the Gunslingers since the inception.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been in 2 or 3 different places in that same general area, haven't you,
As far as I know, and I'm not the expert on this stuff, but I do know quite a bit. We started next to Mars Pawn Shop on Cary Avenue. In the late 70s, they created a park in there with a gazebo, trees, and grass, but the area to the south was still concrete at that time. And they performed in that area, and at one point, probably through Marv Wolf's continued efforts to get that area encompassed in grass. And so from a quarter of the way all the way to the alley, which is halfway down the street of Cary, he got grass put in there. And I don't remember if there was a sprinkler system or not, but I think there probably was. And that's where we performed for over 20 years. And then when Mayor Spiker wanted the street reconstituted into a street, then they moved us down to where we are now.
Okay. So I guess my other question would be if the 15th Street experience goes through and your space is modified some, will you guys stop performing? Will you break up?
Well, we'll probably have to justify our existence. The reason we were created in the first place was to attract or keep business downtown during Frontier Days. And when Dale Range was developed and more stores appeared out there, then the downtown businessmen realized that a lot of their tourism business was going to Dale Range. So we started performing in both June and July during the summer in order to keep tourists downtown. At that point in June and the first part of July, it was just basically to give them a reason to come downtown, and once they got downtown, they would stay for a while, walk around. During Frontier Days specifically was to do a gunfight at noon to keep people around after the pancake breakfast and the parade, and do some shopping and eat lunch and whatnot, and then go down to the fairgrounds. But the gunfight at 6 o'clock was designed to gravitate them back to the downtown area in order to eat dinner or whatever they wanted to do. So that was their plan, was to keep people downtown. And it hurt us when we moved from Cary Avenue because we lost our walk-by traffic. We no longer had people just wandering by and saying, oh, look, a gunfight. And of course, most of those people were adults that were doing that. When we moved out to 15th Street, which I don't believe we had any input in that either. I think they just decided this is the best we can do, take it or leave it. We said, well, by golly, we'll take it, so we did. And they had the buildings made for us. They did all the work down there, put in the grass, the gravel, the concrete, everything the city did. I mean, it was wonderful, but we never had any input into it that I know of. Of course, I was just a lowly gunslinger at that point, but I don't believe we ever had any input into it where we were. We just took what we could get. And when we did that, we lost our walk-by traffic, but eventually our crowds grew because grade school-aged children and middle school-aged children started coming to see us. They wanted to see us perform, and they would bring mom and dad with them, at least mom. Dad sometimes came grudgingly, But at that point, because we didn't offend moms and the kids were entertained, our audience kept growing. And at that point, we started to have a positive effect on the downtown area again. It took several years before our audiences got to where we were actually contributing again to the city.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
If you move a few yards or 50 yards or 20 yards, do you think that'll completely negate your organization?
Well, that much distance wouldn't, but the further west we go, of course, the further out of town we get. And people tend, you know, right now they gravitate towards the downtown area, at least on the west side. They're starting with Pioneer. They'll go down Pioneer. I don't think they ever get as far east as Central. They never go that far. But when we were on Cary, they would be throughout the whole town. They would go all the way 3 blocks down and probably 3 blocks in either direction. But it seems that we have a distinct radius around us. So when we were on Cary, we had that radius, and that encompassed the entire downtown area. When they moved us out to Pioneer and 15th, that radius followed us out there. And so that area around there, probably a 2-3 block area around us, they benefit most from the gunslingers. Everybody else is kind of peripheral, depending on how far somebody would want to walk.
Just last question. Okay. You guys are a completely volunteer organization, so you pay for all your own gear, your own rounds, your weapons, and all that? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Dr. Aldridge.
Mayor Collins, through you, I just had a question. I'm curious about how many people you are seeing this year on average at your performances, because I understand, are they 2 a day right now?
No, not yet.
Okay.
During Frontier Days, it's 2 a day.
So 1 a day right now?
One a day at 6 o'clock.
And what is the average crowd size that you're seeing?
They've been varying quite a bit. I've been blaming the weather, but they've been varying quite a bit. Friday was interesting because we started out with probably 15 people initially, but then when we start shooting, we usually attract crowds when we start shooting, which is odd because, you know, most people run away from gunfire, and Cheyenne, they always run to it. So, the crowds got bigger as our show continued, but most of them were transient, if you will, because they'd park in the parking lot, they'd be going to the plaza, but they would say, "Oh, look at here," and they would stop and they would stay and watch us for a little while, and then they would continue on, and then somebody else would take their place, and it was an interesting thing until the rain came. And it came very hard, but yeah, it hasn't been as good as I'd hoped, but a couple of days, like last Saturday, was really good. We had a lot of gunslingers show up, and we had probably, I'd say, as many as 45 people out there watching us.
Thank you.
Mr. Escobar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Barnes. Is it possible for the set to be mobilized like they do up in Cody? They just kind of roll it in and they do the show right there off Main Street? And then,
probably not, at least not in its current configuration, because we are wired. We have lights and everything on the buildings. We have a boardwalk that people can walk out. I mean, the set is there year round, and people do come to see the set. And like in December, Visit Cheyenne decorates it for Christmas. So people do come down there all year round. Matter of fact, we've got a church down there, which the Depot Museum uses to store their beer festival stuff in, which I thought was kind of ironic. But we paint it and we decorate it, and I tinted the windows so nobody could see inside of it, and I tried to make it as much a church as possible. And we've actually had people get married in front of our church. And
right next door to the jail.
Yeah, right next to the saloon now. Yeah, it depends on the and we you know every time our contract is due every 3 years with the Depot Museum, and every year I ask them, can we have the church, because we could incorporate it into our shows. We could have shotgun weddings and stuff like that, but they never will let us have it because they use it for storage.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just thinking the difference between how the set is now compared to how the set will be after the construction's done. Aside from the way that buildings are set, I'm not seeing too much difference, other than You said that it would limit the amount of space you have for the gunfights?
No, actually, it would increase the amount of space that we have if what Mr. Cobb is talking about. But it would put the set further apart. So what you'd have is you'd have 120 feet between your buildings, because he wants to put a building on one side and a building on. Right now we have 4 buildings if you count the church, and the church is just cosmetic. We use the bank to rob, and we use the jail to throw the bad guy into before we hang him, and we use the saloon because that's where everybody gathers, and that's where the gunfights usually happen, is in the saloon. So we usually have 3 buildings. We've always had 3 buildings. Even when we were on Cary Avenue, we always had three sets. And what Mr. Cobb was proposing is that we limit that to 2 buildings, one on the east side, one on the west side, which would have them facing each other and be approximately 120 or 130 feet apart, with a big gap in between where the railroad cars would be visible up against the fence and nothing else. And I have laid awake at night trying to figure out how in the world can we make that work, and I cannot figure it out. I do not know how to make that work. I mean, 120 feet, I mean, we got guys that won't fall down. I'm not going to get them to run 120 feet across this yard either. I mean, if you haven't noticed, if you haven't been to the Gunslingers, you notice that most of them have gray hair, like me, and falling down is the easy part. Getting back up is tough.
I suppose Mr. Cobb's laid awake trying to figure that out too.
I don't know who he made mad on the city council, but you guys really do hate him to put him in charge of this project, because he is going to be disliked by probably 80% of the people in this town before he's done, because of parking and the gunslingers and everything else.
Any other questions for the marshal? Dr. Aldridge?
I have a question, but it's not for the marshal.
Okay, we're going to go out. We're out in the public right now, so thank you, sir.
You want me to go away?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak to the resolution before us? Jennifer, who do you have?
I have Ms. Sigliano.
Ms. Sigliano.
Hello again. Kathy Sigliano, Ward 3. The gunslingers are so important. We've just spent plenty of time talking so much about preservation, but how quickly we are to remove these amazing group of volunteers. This is a free show, as that's been stated. I have told numerous family members and friends, anytime they come here to visit, about the Gunslingers, especially when they come during the summertime, about how fun and exciting their show is. I remember it being one of the very first things that my family did when we moved here about 11 and a half years ago. We moved here June 30th. So July was our first experience of a lot of things that go on in Cheyenne, and the Gunslingers being one of them. I was just looking at some Facebook memories that popped up with my boys being out there in front of the old buildings, their set and stuff. And it's just so cool to see those memories. And I'm not saying that those memories can't still be had, but just after listening to the marshal's explanation of, you know, what the set could possibly look like in the future, and how he pointed out that these guys all have gray hair. I just had my gray hair colored today, and I'm not nearly as gray as probably most of those guys, but it's a little hard for me to get up after I've been sitting down on the floor, and I would not expect these guys to be running 120 or 130 yards. I think the community loves them and enjoys their show tremendously. I think social media has proven that, and by the crowd that goes to this show, they've proven that time and time again by attending it year after year, and I think we need to leave them where they're at. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else in the audience want to speak? Welcome, ma'am. Please identify yourself.
My name's Jessica Forbes. So, like the other woman on the phone, I'm sorry, Seabrave, I'm sorry, I didn't get her
Sigliano.
name. Sigliano. When I first came here, the Gunslingers was one of the first things I got into. I became one. Haven't been one for a couple of years because now I do Cheyenne Frontier Days while volunteering on the grounds.
Yeah, I
But-
apologize. Can I get you to bring that microphone down so you can talk into it so everybody can
Sorry,
hear?
I'm not used to doing
You're doing
this,
just
so-
fine, thank you.
But because of that, my kids They are involved in the community. They know about gun safety, and that's one thing that he failed to mention. Big reminder that they teach the kids about gun safety. They pass out those pamphlets for free to everyone who attends, parents, anybody. Another thing is that they also volunteered and did photography for Henry Rifle, who also supports gun safety and things like that. So not only do they support the community, but they support the children and also knowing about gun safety, which is huge for Wyoming, as we're learning with all the other amendments here tonight. So I just consider that they are here, they've been here, they're a staple, and they're one of the first things people see here.
Thanks for being here. Anybody else? Anybody online, Jennifer? All right. Hearing nobody else, Mr. Seagrave.
Mr. Mayor, the motion to adopt died due to the lack of a second. Therefore, there is no recommendation from the Public Services Committee. However, for the sake of discussion, I move to adopt.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Aldridge. Comments from members of the governing body.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Aldridge.
Mayor Collins, through you. I am curious. I've heard a couple of things about the gunslingers. My understanding is that this displacement, I've heard, would only be for a year. I've heard that it would be next year that they would be displaced, not this year they'd be displaced. I'm just wondering if we might have some answers about what exactly how long they would be dislocated. And then I also am curious about where they would go while they're being dislocated. And I think that one of the things that I keep hearing is about the number of people who go and watch the gunslingers. I think that they're a proven return on investment. Obviously, our 15th Street business owner in the audience tonight invests in them and their production and sees value in doing that. And so I am really hesitant to make any changes that would be detrimental to their performance or their show, or to even disrupt that for 1 year, because I think that Mr. Barnes spoke to the fact that it took them several years to regain their audience once they were moved. And it's always harder, as we all know, to bring something back once it's been dismissed, even if it's just for a year. So if we could find out about what the actual plan would be and how long they would be dislocated.
Mr. Cobb, did you track that, sir?
Mayor, through you to Dr. Aldridge. Yes, ma'am. So I'll try to put this as briefly as I can. So in the summer of 25 this year, we're installing the faux track. That is the plan to put the faux track in. So it shouldn't disturb them this summer. Okay, we're going this in September, so it's outside of the limits. And then next summer, when the rail cars get placed, they would have to probably temporarily move the building slightly just to allow the placement of the rail cars, not move them from the site. When they would get moved would be the summer of 2027 when construction starts, and we could move them somewhere to the west on the corridor in the same area or even to the east, but then they would have to modify their show slightly because the grass area would be disturbed because there'd be construction activity. We're installing new lighting, new concrete, a sod area that's 500 square feet more. Lots of amenities, including what we had discussed with Mr. Barnes. Right now, he's got temporary speakers mounted to light poles in the right-of-way, and we were going to put a sound system in this area that they could utilize to improve their show and actually have people hear them a lot better than they do now. So we're actually enhancing the area. And as far as moving it overall, it's in the exact location. I just want to add that we're calling it Gunslingers Plaza, just for information. It's listed on the master plan as such. So as far as moving it long-term, no. No.
Follow up, Mayor Collins?
Dr. Aldridge.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that their stage would not be displaced except for when the proposed rail cars would be placed. And then they would, this is a big if and when we ever have the funding to do what you're calling the next phase, on 15th Street, then they could possibly be displaced. But that is, you're saying 27, but that's yet to be seen, and it'll be a different makeup of a council, and the funding may be different. So we're only assuming that they would be displaced in 2027.
Mayor, through you to Dr. Aldridge. Yes, in that case, yes, ma'am. But obviously, we plan to try to get this to bid as soon as we can, so we at least establish a price for what we're talking about and have this council make that decision, ma'am.
Mr. Escobar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, we did discuss this at Council and Coffee, and there was a hypothetical situation that came up where we discussed putting in some pilings in the hole and building a boardwalk over the hole and putting the set on the boardwalk and then having grandstands and gazebos and picnic tables on the boardwalk. I know Leeds is the current owner of the hole, but this would kill two birds with one stone. So,
Mr. Escobar, the Leeds does not own the hole. It's privately owned.
Well, maybe. Why did I think Leeds was? Well, never mind.
They were the former owner, but they're no longer the owner.
Like maybe we ought to talk to the new owner then.
Anybody else? Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, first, I'd like to thank everybody who spoke, especially Mr. Barnes, the Gunslingers. I would urge everybody to vote aye. I mean, they are an intricate part of our downtown. They're part of our Western heritage. Okay, we are a Wild West town. That is part of who we are here in Cheyenne. We've heard that there will be a change. It will definitely impact them. I do recall from our session in January, they would remain at the same location, though it was mentioned, I could be mistaken, with the current setup as is now. I'm just a little bit concerned that we will lose more of the buildings and they could be permanently dislocated, and I don't want to see that. And we do have petitions from online. There's another one I have here too, which I'll pass a copy down to this side, copy down to this side to look at, and I'll give a copy to our Madam Clerk. 254 have signed to keep the Gunslingers at the current location with the current setup. Our constituents and our visitors want the Gunslingers to remain at their present location. It's very high during our tourist season, not just June and July, but also during the Christmas season. People do take pictures there. I know I have myself. I was just at a show a couple weeks ago. There was a family that just visited from South Carolina. It was their first time ever being in Cheyenne, and they were saying how great it is here, how friendly we are as a community, and how much they love the Western traditions. So that's why I urge us to vote aye. We need to keep that tradition alive. It does attract tourism and helps out the downtown business. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Dr. Emmons.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to be a no on this because I don't think that we should be making guarantees of things in perpetuity, and there's no sunset on this document. Additionally, thank you for the petitions, but I'm sure you're aware that unless those are verified, we don't know if those are citizens of Cheyenne or anything else. So I think that's important. And lastly, I realize change is difficult. We all know how hard that can be, but I am really excited about the fact that the Gunslingers seem to be incredibly resilient in coming up to meet the challenges that have been thrown in front of them. And I know you guys, if you end up moving, will continue to do an excellent job for the community and the downtown businesses. So thank you for that.
Mr. Seagrave.
Briefly, Mr. Mayor, I'll be a no vote as well for the reasons discussed, but also the testimony of Director Cobb. They really aren't moving. They might move for a year while we do some construction, but it sounds like they're going to be virtually in the same place. So this really isn't needed. And as their biggest supporter, I think we should have some latitude as we develop the properties around them. I would hope as a guest of the city that they would help us with that and understand if it goes forward. I don't know that it will. But I would hope they would work with us to make this happen. So thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we have a resolution before us talking about the gunslingers. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
May I see all those opposed? No. Can I see the hands of the noes? So we have Mr. White, Mr. Escobar, Dr. Rainey, Dr. Emmons, Mr. Roybal, Mr. Seagrave. The resolution fails. Next item, please.
Next item is 24C on page 5. Consideration of bid number S-26-25 for an agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Vintage Rail Restorations for the Cheyenne Rail Car Project, Historic Exterior Restoration, bid package number 2.
All right. We have a bid before us to see the remediation and painting of some historic rail cars to be placed on 15th Street. Let's go out to the audience and see what thoughts are. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, Exit Brown, Ward 2. So I am actually against this restoration project. I haven't had any water in a minute, my mouth's a little dry. And it's not because of the project itself, but it's because where some of the funding is coming from. Yes, there is grant money that is going into this. However, there is taxpayer dollars being spent out of the general reserve, as well as a special optional tax, which, if I believe I'm correct, is the 6-penny tax, which was voted upon by the citizens for road, curb, sidewalk repair, things like that for the downtown area. So since the passing of Senate File 69, which is the property tax relief, there has been the political rhetoric, not only out of here, but out of other municipalities and counties, that how are we going to pay for our public services? What are we going to do? Are we going to cut public services? Are we going to reduce public services? 3 weeks ago, or a little longer, we just had a $3 increase in water and sewer because we have to pay for infrastructure upgrades, future upgrades. So we're adding more fees to our citizens, but then now on the other hand, we are going to spend taxpayer dollars to repaint and move rail cars for a static display. We have more important issues such as infrastructure, roads, curb, sidewalks, lighting that need to be taken care of. Right now, our citizens are being nickeled and dimed for these functions of government when this money right here, here's your offset, some money for your offset for the property tax relief. Here is money that could go to infrastructure needs, which is a function of government. So the problem here is, and actually even Mr. Seagrave, Councilman Seagrave, even stated that we are not fulfilling our number one priority, which is public health and safety. But we are going to spend money on rail cars. So the bottom line is, and the truth and the fact of the matter is that, and I say this with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, is that the City of Cheyenne does not have a revenue problem. I've seen the budget, I've seen the revenue streams, I've seen your appropriations. The city has a spending problem. And what we need to do, and what the city needs to do, is start getting back to the actual function of government providing essential public service, and that is keyword essential. So I appreciate your time, as always, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Sir.
Mr. Brown, I could be wrong, but I don't think we're spending any 6-penny money on the roads.
I just saw I thought the
Mr. Brown,
that one was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You're out of order,
Sorry.
sir. Give him just a
Sorry,
second,
my
okay?
bad.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's not for the roads and that type of thing. My understanding is there was a provision of the 6-penny for matching grants.
Okay.
And I believe that's what we're doing with the 6-penny on this project.
Is that what that is?
Am I right, Mr. Mayor?
We have a part of the 6-penny where the voters voted that we would have money to match federal grants, federal and state grants, because sometimes that is a challenge for us. We can get grants, but to find the match.
Yeah.
So we did put a pot of money, just over $2 million, that goes into a federal matching grant fund.
Okay.
And I believe that's the 6-penny component.
Okay. And I would be, if this really wants to go forward, I would not be opposed to the private funding going to match and have it private funded, because I don't think this is actually a function of government to do anything like this. These special pet projects that utilize taxpayer dollars, I don't believe is where we need to be spending our tax money at this time, especially with property tax relief. And when the People's Initiative, which I'm very confident will get passed next year, these type of projects are going to have to go to the back burner so we can continue to pay for our essential services.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Brown, do you believe that, I'm sorry, through you, Mr.
Yep.
Mayor. Mr. Brown, do you believe that economic development is part of our responsibility?
I
as a
believe it
city
is.
council?
I believe it is, and there is ways to provide economic development, and that is by reducing regulations and requirements that place burdens on not only our small businesses, or the major businesses, but also our small businesses. And actually, our small businesses are the ones that are hurt actually the most by ridiculous overregulation. And I'll tell you a quick story too. I grew up in a railroad town. There was actually 2 full static display trains literally across the street from my childhood home. And those actually had some historical significance to my hometown in North Platte, Nebraska, because they were the last coal-fired engines, and then the new engines that they brought in, I think it was back in the mid-late 80s. I will tell you, even growing up there, and even when I go back to visit my childhood home, there is hardly anybody that goes to visit those trains. And those were ones that were brought in to bring in some tourism. And the cool thing, and they're actually pretty cool because you can actually tour the inside of them, and they have historical memorabilia, and they have something to relate to the community there. These trains are from a rail service in California that have no historical fact, no historical meaning to the city of Cheyenne or to the Union Pacific. And so, and also I read several reports this weekend when it came to trains and tourism. Yes, trains can draw tourism. Static display trains have a hard time maintaining tourism. They will get an initial interest of folks that will come and just check them out, but a sharp decline after that. And what I'm afraid of is going to happen is when this council is long gone, years down the road, even decades down the road, the people that are up in your seats are going to be facing the same issue you all are facing now with the pump house. And that's going to be millions upon millions of taxpayer dollars being spent.
Mr. Mayor, through you, as someone who drives over that bridge in North Platte on a regular basis, part of that is the location.
Right.
And do you believe that just regulations is the only thing that impacts?
I think it's one of the biggest things.
Mr. Brown, you've got to let her finish her questions. Okay, I'll recognize you, sir.
Okay.
Do you also think that, or do you think that regulations is the only thing that impacts economic development in the community?
I think it's one of the biggest ones.
But it's not the only one.
It's not the only one, and I believe we have to have things that are more cost-effective to the taxpayer, and it's going to have a return on investment. I believe that this will not have the return on investment that you're hoping to seek. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anybody else in the audience want to speak? Marshall, welcome back.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Appreciate it. Again, howdy, folks.
Identify yourself again.
Oh, Roger Barnes, current Chief
This is your
Marshal of
fifth time you've been
Gunslinger.
up here now.
Yeah, it's the 5th time.
Yep,
yes.
sir.
It is the 5th time. Just because of what we've been going through with Gunslingers Square and whatnot, I've been exposed to this. So I just had a little statement that I wanted to read if I could. I have to say that the true issue here with the railroad cars, especially being what they are, which is like not historical to Cheyenne and whatnot, basically it's just an issue of trust. The public has to trust that the city council has their best interest at heart and that they will spend the people's hard-earned dollars responsibly. Ask any resident on the street what the city council should be spending their tax dollars on, and a railway display on 15th Street will never come up. That's not what the public is interested in. They're interested in their curbs and gutters, their streets, their water, their sewer, their anything but that. So they have to have trust that the city council is looking after their best interest. When they lose that trust, it's possible that they'll turn off the spigot. And what I'm talking about is the 6-penny money. It is my understanding that some of the 15th Street Railway experience was never part of the 6-penny proposal, yet money has been used anyway. I don't know, that may be wrong, but that's just what I understood, was that they might have used some of it. Why would voters trust the council to act on their behalf when the council abuses their trust, is the main thing. Is I think that probably, even though 6-penny money is specifically aimed at things, if people feel that the council is not going to perform their duty and do what's even listed on the 6-penny proposal, why would they vote for it? So I think that's what you've got to consider is future 6-penny money. I think it's important. Thank you.
Mr. Garrett, welcome, sir.
My name is Tyler Garrett. My company's own the Rex Building, where the tenant is Alexis Drake, and also the Becker Building, where the Wyoming Business Council is. First and foremost, I would like to thank the council and the mayor for the time and effort you have put in over the years, devoting it to 15th Street, propelling progress, and incentivizing economic progress. It's been a number of years since we've really come full circle with this issue. A while back, we had meet and greets. We walked 15th Street. Some of the council members weren't on the council at that time, but I thought we made good progress. And we were collaborating and working together. And with Mr. Cobb, with his brain on the development and design, we thought we were getting somewhere. And I think I can speak for most of us on 15th Street that I think we are. We've observed the current plan. I, for one, support it in its entirety. The hook and the concern I think some of us have is that it's not a plan being approved in its whole. It is being piecemealed in a way that brings a lot of concern, and I think that's causing some dissension and some disagreement on the council. And I think that's the concern we have in the private sector. We've been doing our part on our side of the street to invest millions of dollars over the last several years in hopes and in confidence that we have in this council and the mayor to do your part. I think it is that time where the entire plan needs to be figured out and approved and funded. Because of now, it seems to me that it's a zero-sum game amongst the city council that if the rail cars are not approved, nothing will ever be approved. And that is such a tragedy to 15th Street and to downtown generally. So it is my hope that the city council can come together with the mayor and we can find some semblance of common ground, harmony, and propelling progress forward in funding the entire project all the way down to where McGee Hearn and Pies is, where West Edge is. You know how much money they've invested as well. And that really, I think, needs to be addressed. I don't know how today, but perhaps an amendment or an adoption of a resolution that the council will not go forward with the rail cars until the funding for the entire project is done. Because something you said, Councilman Seagrave, resonated, and that is your reaffirmance to what this council is about, and that is health, safety, and welfare. One thing that doesn't provide health, safety, and welfare is the rail cars. But what does is low-hanging fruit like lighting. I can tell you that tenants like Alexis Drake, when their employees go home, and they're mostly female, they walk in groups to their cars. The same can be said down the street to the west, too, where West Edge is and McGee Hearn and Pies. That, to me, is a real important issue that cannot be overlooked and cannot be ignored through disagreement with respect to rail cars versus just putting those, and we're not going to go forward with anything if the rail cars don't get passed. So I would really encourage and implore the council, take whatever verb, request, beg, whatever it may be that helps resonate what we're saying on a private sector, for the council to come together and vote this project forward in its entirety, because it's not asking much to the west end to go all the way to where West Edge is and McGehern and Pies for the streetscape. Curbs, gutters, lights. They too need lights. We all need lights. And we're very thankful on our side, on Cary to 15th and Cary, that there'll be different other types of ambience lighting too. That does serve an additional purpose and will draw more people to that area. But fundamentally, we really do need to have a first step, and that is to bring these basic services, whatever the basic design, to fruition with the rail cars. Because the piecemealing, and I've heard it with several people tonight, that if this council isn't here in several years and we're left with rail cars, what good does that do? I might not be in favor of its entirety of the rail cars, but that's okay. I trust this council. I trust you, Mayor, because I know that you all have done the market analyses and studies to gain your confidence in that the rail cars are something that the city should spend funding on. I simply ask that we include the whole project that Mr. Cobb has come up with, which really does incorporate a lot of our asks and our hopes, and we're really thankful for that. So I would really encourage whatever mechanism in the procedure that happens tonight, that the rail cars and everything come together and happen at once, so nothing's left behind. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Garrett. Thanks for your investment in downtown.
Absolutely.
Your buildings look beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak?
I have some questions.
Oh, go ahead.
For Mr. Garrett. Mayor Collins, through you. First and foremost, one of my questions is, where have you seen, or what have you been provided with, that shows that a market analysis has been done on the rail cars?
I don't. I've taken that in good faith based on conversations with
Unfortunate.
folks in government.
My second question, Mayor Collins, through you, is if the rail cars were removed from this project, because I believe that this is a project that all the council members could support, all 9 council members could support without the rail cars. Are you of the opinion or the belief, or have you been told that the only way you were going to get your 15th Street improvements was if you accepted the rail cars?
My understanding, based on the dynamic of the votes and what's happening, is that if the rail cars do not go forward, nothing will go forward.
That's unfortunate as well. Thank you.
Were there other questions? Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Thank you, sir. Just a quick question. If, let's say, had a resolution just to provide lighting and improve the sidewalks, no rail cars, would you and other business owners on 15th Street support that?
Mr. Garrett?
It's a difficult one to answer. I guess, could I ask it in a different way? If the rail cars were taken out of the plan that Mr. Cobb has put together, would we support it? For me personally, I would say yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Laborn, did you have a question? Oh, no problem. Thank you, Mr. Garrett.
Thank you.
Mr. Bud Wickham.
Hi, Brian Bow, property owner at 1506 Capitol Avenue. We have buildings facing 15th Street as well. Also serve on the DDA. I'll start with that hat real quick. This 15th Street project has had a lot of public input and work sessions multiple times for the public to contribute to it. And it is one of the top 5 priorities of the DDA. So the DDA has drafted a letter, which you all have received previously, that fully supports this entire plan. Putting my property hat back on, I just see the remarkable things that have happened at Friday Nights on the Plaza, which I imagine was publicly funded. And I don't have facts to prove that, but it seems that it was.
It was.
And I think that's a really nice piece of collaboration, and it's something that a lot of other cities would wish that they had. And so I see the 15th Street project as spreading that success further down the street to have people go down 15th Street and further into downtown and towards the West Edge. It puts the Reed Avenue corridor, potentially whatever great things may happen with the pump house and, you know, the downtown, all nicely together. And I also believe that this is probably one of the least expensive projects that the city could endeavor to accomplish. So a lot of really positive things there. I share my concerns that this is just one piece, but I do trust that this council will stand by their words and move the rest of the project forward, so that everybody on 15th Street and the public benefit. So greatly appreciate your consideration of all those things tonight, and thank you for the work that's been done from Mr. Tom Cobb and all the tailoring he did to work with us to have this plan be a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Dr. Emmons.
Mr. Mayor, through you. So when you own several businesses, right? Or
Yes, ma'am.
when you went into those businesses, did you know right away that there was a guarantee that they were going to be successful?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Mayor Collins?
Dr. Emmons or Dr. Aldrich.
Thank you. Mr. Bao, when you and I visited, I believe your statement to me was that the train cars were just a vehicle to getting the 15th Street project done, of the improvements that you and the other tenants along 15th Street would like to see. That was really your interest in the rail cars, was getting the rest of the 15th Street project completed. Is that still correct?
I think I might say it a little differently. I think that the rail cars are a key part of the plan, and pretty much the reason that the other improvements were considered in the first place. And so I think that certainly what I hear from the museum is they would love to have the rail cars there. I could see why the museum would send people out visiting the brick and mortar museum and then down the street to see these rail cars. And that could be just a lot like the Cheyenne Gunslingers, an added attraction where it gets feet further into downtown and the West Edge.
Thank you.
Thanks for your investments downtown, and I love what you're doing with your ice cream shop, giving all the money to local charities. It's pretty cool, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
David, did you want to talk to us tonight, sir? Welcome. We haven't seen you for a while. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Dave Tubner, 509 West 17th Street is where I reside and have 2 other commercial properties in the downtown district and one neighboring it. So heavily invested and interested in the downtown in general. I appreciate all of the dialogue and planning efforts that have gone into this. I'll tell you the truth that at first when the 15th Street plan came out, I wasn't excited about it because it, not from the plan, but because it leapfrogged a big part of the West Edge vision and that was put out about 10 years ago. Reed Avenue, Civic Commons Park, Pump House Park. And so that was hard to watch, something leapfrog. But after 25 years in Cheyenne, I'm pretty used to it, but it's still not my favorite. But I've grown to really understand it a lot more. I felt the momentum of the city council and the planning effort coming together, the engagement of the city with the 15th Street owners in the recent past was really powerful, and the fact that the plan got modified based on some of those concerns, I was very excited to see responsiveness to the private sector and the investors. So I think it's important to recognize all the effort that's been put into this. I think it is a key conduit, as was mentioned earlier, that it connects to Reed Avenue, it connects to Pump House Park, it connects to the plaza, all key pieces of infrastructure that private sector can build around. So I stand in support of it. I stand in support of it in its totality because I do think the lighting, I wish the lighting went all the way down, to be real honest, all the way down to the West Edge and the new development that neighbors Pump House Park. So I speak in favor of it. I will say also, though, the leapfrogging or the inability in which to complete a project is daunting. I'm involved in a variety of different developments in other cities, and I haven't been witness to this that we have in Cheyenne. And we have to be able to finish. Planning and replanning and jumping is something that over the last 25 years, but if you walk the West Edge or you walk the downtown, the private sector believes you when you put out these plans. They believed the West Edge plan, and you can see that in millions of dollars of development, and we believe you. And when this plan came out, and there was plenty of you walking the streets of the West Edge and talking about the importance of it and very excited, and some of those same people are now, feels like, trying to kill it. And that feels like a cycle that Cheyenne has been in. So I encourage us to finish because I think the private sector believes what you say and what you put in the street. So thank you for your consideration.
David, thanks for being here again tonight. Dr. Emmons.
Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Tubner, you have been involved in several different businesses through your life. Did you have any guarantees when you went in them that they were going to be successful?
Still don't.
Thank you.
I have some questions.
Dr. Aldridge.
Mr. Tubner, thanks for being here tonight. I'm curious about how many promises have been made to you by the city of Cheyenne over the years?
None direct to me.
Okay. How many projects have you seen be leapfrogged, or how many times have you seen your project leapfrogged to get to other projects?
Plenty. I think there's, the DDA was recently involved in an area-wide plan where we looked at 40 past plans and tried to isolate it down to 5 that had merit and that feng shuied with the city council's listed priorities, and this was one of them.
Would you say, through you, Mayor Collins, would you say that your experience with councils, this current council and previous councils, is that we tend to overpromise and underdeliver?
Yeah, and I think you have another shot at that right now, actually.
I agree. Thanks.
Anybody else? David, thank you so much for being here again tonight. Great to have you. Brian.
Brian Casey, property interest, excuse me, at 610 West 15th, multiple buildings, multi-millions of dollars we've invested in them buildings to rehab them. Prior to MHP rehabbing the portion of the building that we originally purchased. I stand in support of the 15th Street rehab. A lot of it for safety reasons, the lighting. As Mr. Garrett said earlier, his people at his wife's business walk in groups in the evening. My female staff are not allowed to leave our building alone. They must either walk in groups or I will be there to escort them to their vehicles. It's a very concerning issue. We have one street light between Bent and O'Neill, and there's currently over 140 people in the building that we have invested millions in. We, again, stand in support because we understand that this gets killed without the rail cars. And it's one of the things that if that's the necessary portion of this, then I'll support that. Because we don't have to like everything all the time. We have to look at the big picture. And the big picture here is rehabbing 15th. 15th was a dirt road in the 80s. And most of the people here that have spent any time in Cheyenne understand. The buildings that we own between O'Neill and Bent were on a dirt road. And as Dr. Emmons has asked the people up before me, was there any guarantee when you went into business? Absolutely. I had a guarantee. I don't have the option to fail. And that's my guarantee, that I'll support a situation to fruition If it fails, that's failure in somebody else's eyes, not in my eyes.
Did you want to ask a question?
Yes, I have a question. Say, Ryan, did I understand from what you just stated that you believe that if this rail car painting expenditure doesn't happen, that further improvements, particularly down towards your end of 15th Street, won't happen? Is that what I'm hearing?
Mr. Casey?
That's my understanding, yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thanks again for that recipe for last night. It's pretty dang good.
You know, the irony of that is that's what I had for dinner last
No
night,
way.
too. Absolutely.
Appreciate you sharing. Thank you, sir. Mr. Willett, welcome, sir.
Good evening. Chad Willett, multi-property owner and business owner along 15th Street, Bent Avenue, 16th Street. A few years ago, in 2017, we invested by building a building on the corner of 16th and Bent. We started a marketing firm. We realized that'd be better served by inviting the public down to a better location for them. The city council approved a liquor license for us. Since then, we have reinvented that property as the Rail Spur, which is now doing over $1 million a year in revenue and serving countless guests on a day-to-day basis with more than 4.5-star review. At that time, we invested in that property due to Fifth Penny initiatives to connect 15th Street to the Ames Ave Greenway, to connect to the Reed Avenue Rail Corridor. Since that time, we've purchased more buildings. We've invited more companies downtown to 15th Street. We are looking at additional developments and projects on 15th Street. We have worked countless hours with the city engineer regarding a plan that is suitable for not only the businesses, but the intent of a tourism master plan, which could yield public benefit, public dollars through EDA grants. The city was successful in securing those grants, and that was meant to be a catalyst for the 15th Street project, which has greenway elements, which has parking elements, which has lighting and streetscape. And the public-private process has yielded a final plan that supports all of 15th Street rather than just the rail cars. And we are very excited by the outcome. I understand it's now at 100% design. And we understand that there has been significant movement as of late with the Union Pacific regarding additional property lease options in the future. And we believe that this project is a catalyst, and that means to the end. If this were to be about rail cars alone, no, we wouldn't support it. This council, this administration has, what I feel now, bent over backwards to create a plan that meets all of those needs. Where we have a problem with all that we've invested in, all of the time that we've spent, and the 8 years now of residing in the location, is the fact that things continue to be piecemealed. And for this project to move forward without the rest of the project moving forward. And the rest of the project, meaning right now it's only defined as a phase one, which doesn't take care of all of 15th Street. That doesn't meet the needs of the business owners. I echo the sentiments of 5 o'clock in December when it's dark and we have people from 19 years old to up to 65 walking along 15th Street. We've got no infrastructure. If this can be the catalyst, the means to the end, we support it. Without this council making movements to adopt the plan as a whole and finish the plan in its entirety by the July 2017, we feel it's a recipe for disaster, and that the investments that we put in will be for mute, and that they won't be seen all the way through. we support the means to the end because we have increased property values. We've increased property taxes. Those taxes are going into the coffers. The 6-penny ballot was for downtown projects. This is a major downtown project. Those dollars should support all of that. So if this is the piece that gets us moving to be able to come back in 30 days with hard numbers to bid the whole project, let's do that. And let this council be the ones who drive that rather than waiting for something to happen in several years. And don't piecemeal that with only a portion of 15th Street. Get the project done, move it forward, and let's move on to the Reed Ave Rail Corridor. The railroads are in our favor now. We've got partnerships. Let's do it. Let's move. If this doesn't go through, we don't feel any of these projects are going to go through, and it's going to be yet another disappointment for us as business owners who have submitted millions of dollars to these projects. Thank you.
Chad, thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Dr. Aldridge, did you have a question?
I do. Mayor Collins, through you. Chad, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for your investment in 15th Street and the Bent
You're welcome.
Avenue. I think that those, all of those investments, every single one of those private dollars makes a difference. My question is, have you, are you hearing that we're making progress with the railroad secondhand, or have you actually personally, you know that that has happened?
My understanding is there was a conversation after Finance Committee that there has been contact now with the Union Pacific Railroad regarding the areas south of 15th Street, and they are amenable to a 50-year lease option on the properties that we've tried to purchase and we've tried to lease with, that they will only deal with city government. So my understanding is that there is now communication with Union Pacific to be able to move that forward. So I ask hold and delay on the additional improvements till we can get that under lease and do the whole project at once, but move that forward quickly rather than waiting additional years to secure that property lease and potentially lose the impact of the forward movement.
Well, the information you have is more than what I have as a council member, so I appreciate getting that information from you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Emmons.
Mr. Mayor, through you. Mr. Willett, I'm going to ask you the same question. Did you have a guarantee when you went into any of your businesses that you were going to be successful?
No.
My second question for you, which I wish I would have asked the rest, is when you did this, did you take a personal risk to do this, to start your businesses?
My whole life is leveraged on 15th Street right now. With the intent of forwarding the creative economy and the growth of the future of Cheyenne. I started 20 years ago on 15th Street in the Asher building with one person in an office. We renovated that. We moved through additional warehouses. We feel that we've been a model community partner and community development, and we want a public-private partnership, and right now it's felt very private, and we're excited by the fact that there's a plan that the public is going to do their part, and that's what we're asking is step up and let's do this, and we're excited to be that cheerleader for it, but it can't stop here.
Mr. Mayor, and so it appears that from every business person that spoke here tonight, that risk has been worth the rewards. But sometimes you got to take the risk to get the rewards.
Absolutely. And at this point, I echo the sentiment of Mr. Garrett. Would we be in support of a project minus the rail cars? Sure. Would we be in support of delaying this anymore? No. Move forward with the rail cars to get this project done. Thank you.
Doctor.
Actually, my question isn't for Mr. Willett, but thank you, Chad, for your comments. I do have, Mr. Mayor, and you can rule me out of order if you want, because obviously what we're talking about is a contract to paint the rail cars. But the discussion has come up about why are we doing this in phases, and if this is an appropriate time. After Public Service Committee, some of us asked our city engineer, why can't we do this all at one time? Because we understand the desires for the landowners along that area. And Mr. Cobb had a really good engineering answer why we have to do it in phases. So I don't know if he's prepared to address that at the moment, but I think that the advocates for the project and doing it all at once need to hear his
Mr.
rationale.
Cobb, do you want to weigh in here, sir?
Well, Mayor, through you, sir, to Dr. Rennie, I guess the answer that I gave Dr. Rennie in after the committee meeting is you have to do this in phases because we have to get the rail cars in place. If we're going to move forward with the rail cars, they have to be in place before I can do the public improvements, because you can't build the plaza and the lighting and everything around it and transport the rail cars to the corridor at the same time. They can't be there because obviously they interfere with each other. The lights wouldn't be high enough. The improvements would be completed. We disturb those improvements. So if we have to do it in pieces and parts moving forward. Now, with what we've just stated, that's just for phase one because that's where we're placing the rail cars. And just to be clear for the council and after comments that were made, we don't have a final design for the entire area. I simply have the design working on phase one. I have the master plan set up, but I have no contract in place with a design firm to complete the construction drawings for the entire corridor. They simply are working on phase one. I'm sorry if I'm out of line.
Thanks for the information. Did that answer your question?
It did. It did, Mr. Mayor. As I think part of the issue was that if we did the streets now, originally it was thought the rail cars would be brought in on rail and transported by crane. Now I guess they're going to be brought in by street, and we didn't want to put in a new street and then have all that weight put on them. Is that accurate?
Mr. Mayor, through you to Dr. Rennie, yes, I was on vacation and I think I forgot my other component to this, but it is a very important component. We did look at the transportation of those vehicles. It has changed. This bid came forward with transporting those cars via semi-truck and trailer versus craning off the rail tracks themselves on the UP main line. So it is a major change to that, and they would affect the curb and gutter improvements. We wouldn't want to be running trucks and trailers over the top of the new curb in the areas that we're improving. Thanks, Dr. Rennie.
So, thank you. Mr. Mayor, like I said, I know this is out of order because we're really just talking about a contract to paint the rail cars, but it's been brought up by all the landowners and that, so I wanted them to understand there actually is an engineering rationale for splitting it into two pieces. I think I and my colleagues would be happy to have a discussion with our engineer and see what we can do to provide the funding for start the design of the second phase. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to ask that.
Mr. Wilt, thank you for being here tonight and for your investment in our downtown.
And
it's been a long time.
Yeah, thank you. And a clarifying question through you, maybe to Mr. Cobb. This master plan, is there an approval process through council for the master plan? Or how and where does this master plan, has it been approved? Is it approved? And is it in a citywide plan to move this forward by a time period?
Mr. Cobb.
Mayor, through you to Mr. Willett, none so far, sir. Just a workshop session, and there's been no vote as far as the master plan itself, sir.
Thank you. And as a follow-up, Mr. Mayor, with that said, is it understood that a agreement to move forward with the rest of phase one or the plan in its entirety still would have to go through an approval process outside of the budgeting process for the improvements? Does the plan as a whole or its phased approach of phase 1B, 2, 3 forward have to be approved by this group?
I believe the answer is yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we'd have to approve the contracts to do the design. We'd have to approve the contracts to do the building. So yes, sir, it would take this governing body or whichever governing body is sitting here to approve those steps.
Thank you. I would appreciate it if this council would look for ways to amend tonight to move that forward, move that process forward for approval, or introduce a resolution to get that moving as soon as possible to give the business owners faith that this is going to move forward. There are several projects in the downtown area, specifically on 15th Street, that could be at risk of this without parking improvements and so on. And it'd be a shame to see Cheyenne lose those. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again. All right, we're out to the audience again. Jennifer, who do you have?
I have Mr. Alan Sheldon.
Mr. Sheldon.
Yeah, thank you. Alan Sheldon, Ward 2. Just wanted to speak in opposition of the railcar exterior restoration project. And I'd rather see that money diverted to roads and other infrastructure maintenance. But after listening to all the business owners tonight, it does seem that maybe the 15th Street project should continue without the rail car restoration aspect.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in the audience? Online, Jennifer? Okay. Mr. Laybourne.
Mr. Mayor, the recommendation of the Finance Committee is to accept the bid in an amount not to exceed $987,050, and I so move.
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Roybal. Okay, comments from members of the governing body?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Seagrave.
Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding that we need to amend to provide funding for the alternate. So I would move to use general fund reserves for the alternate portion of the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Roybal. All right. Mr. Cobb, could you just discuss real quick the alternate for the audience when we go out there?
Yes, sir. Mayor, the main portion of the alternate is for the renovation and transportation of just a city car. There's no grant funding associated with it. The renovation would be the exterior and the painting as well, but that would include welding and some window replacements, et cetera, for another Pullman car.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go out to the audience. Just identifying the funding source for the last car. Anybody want to speak to that? How about from the governing body?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Aldridge.
Mayor Collins, through you, I would just like to emphasize to the public that may be listening or here in the room with us that this is from the General Reserve. And while we have, I believe we were told about $37 million in reserve.
Brenda Moreau, Deputy City Treasurer, $31 million.
$31 million in reserve.
That's above the 120 days.
Which is above the 120 days required by state statute.
By city ordinance.
I'm sorry,
Or
by
city
city
resolution.
ordinance. That money is basically our savings account that if the legislature is successful in eliminating property tax in the next session, and if they're successful in moving to a sales tax basis for our revenue stream, we are looking at not having perhaps a fifth or a sixth penny ballot, or having that capability to raise those funds. I want to just make sure everyone understands that this is our savings account for the city, and this is definitely a want, not a need. And I would hope that you would spend this money just like you would your personal money.
Dr. Emmons, did you want to speak?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, through you, how much money are we talking about?
Can you turn your microphone on, sir? Thank you.
I don't have.
Mr. Cobb, do you have it quickly?
Just give me 1 second. I'll pull it up.
It's part of the 900,000 talked about already. It's included in that number.
Brenda?
I believe it's $387,200.
Mr. Mayor, so 387,000 out of the 31 million is what we're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Dr. Aldridge? No? Anybody else? All right, we have a motion to fund the alternate. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
I see the hands of the noes. Mr. Moody, Dr. Aldridge, and Mr. Laybourne are noes. The amendment is passed. We're back on the main motion. Comments from members of the governing body?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Seagrave.
We're talking about substantial funds. There's no question about that. I sent an email a few days ago, and basically we have grant money and general fund money and I think it's just easier if I read this. As I read the documents prepared for the Finance Committee, I see general fund reserves paying for $46,476 in the base bid and $387,200 for the alternate, for a total general fund city money of $433,676. Renee Smith from your office indicated that if we choose not to approve this tonight, if we stop the rail cars, we will have to spend $219,626 to refund the federal government. In addition, we'll have to spend in excess of $100,000 to relocate the rail cars for a total of $319,626. So one way or the other tonight, we're going to spend $319,626. The question is, do we want to spend an additional $114,000 to make the project work? To me, that's what that's the dollar amount we're talking about tonight, is $114,000. I think this project deserves $114,000. I think the potential for additional development in this area for expansion of the plaza and the depot, more visitors to the museum is well worth that investment of $114,000. I am a yes on this tonight. I would also point out the sixth penny funds are not for the curb, gutter, sidewalk. The sixth penny funds were for the match, and I don't believe we've spent any of that matching money so far from the sixth penny ballot. I would like to also point out the DDA, the Visitors Bureau, the Depot Museum, and others, the business owners, are all in favor of this project. So I am a yes tonight. Thank you.
Dr. Aldridge.
Thank you, Mayor Collins, through you. I guess maybe I heard it differently from our business partners. What I heard was they want the 15th Street project to continue. They're not necessarily invested in the rail cars. I have the original grant application here from January 28th of 2022 that was written by our grant administrator at that time, Renee Smith. And this is what the projected increased tourism that was submitted to our federal partners said. That the project is projected to attract an additional 730 travel parties over its first 2 years in operation. And in parentheses, it says 1 additional travel party per day. That's what we're hoping to get from this. I guess we also, in the grant application, which I find really interesting, and I think our federal partners are going to have some exception with this, is that in the grant application itself, it says that we're going to turn these rail cars into shops, restaurants. It is what it says in the grant application. The grant we're getting, of which we would have to pay back $219,000, I believe you said, Councilman Seagrave, is the total grant on that is a little over $630,000. We may not actually even be able to seek that reimbursement if we're not carrying out this grant to its entirety. I believe that the remaining money, if we had to pay back the $219,000, we've already paid for asbestos removal, so we're already in this much deeper than that anyway. But the remaining $987,000 we had planned for the rail cars would go a long way, and I believe that the estimate we got on the 15th Street overhead lighting to look like 17th Street was right around $280,000, is what the last number I had seen. There really hasn't been done on this project a return on investment. There hasn't been a market analysis done. I feel very badly that there are business owners here that believe that that had happened. And I believe that when Randy Bruns and Darren Rudloff originally talked about this, those were some of the things that Darren Rudloff said needed to occur before we actually proceeded with this project, and none of them have occurred. Not one of the things that he recommended be done before this project go forward actually has happened. And so now we're sitting here and we're looking at $987,000 for this, but I believe the last estimate I saw on a presentation done at the work session was $1.4 million site preparation to stub out and to put in grease vaults and to prepare the site for these train cars to be set there as a static display that would only be able to be looked at. The windows will be blacked out. In the bid that we're looking at tonight, Pantone 5522, I believe it is, and Pantone 5523, which are shades of green, would be used on these train cars. According to the MOU we have with UP Railroad that was signed with them, we can't use their colors, we can't use their insignia. So I question, I think having Old Sadie there is one thing and brings historic value, but having these two rail cars there that will only be to look at, that will be targets for vandalism probably, that will provide less security in the parking area because it'll be great big objects for vagrants, to attract vagrants, we've heard about that issue tonight, is not going to be helpful to 15th Street or to the merchants on 15th Street. I'm going to be a no vote tonight on this because I don't believe that the rail cars have to be done in order for the 15th Street improvements to be done. I want to see 15th Street improvements done, but without the rail cars. And I think that we could get on board as a council with those of us that have been in opposition to these rail cars, if the rail cars were removed from this project. Yes, would we have to dispose of them? Absolutely. Would it cost us money? It's going to cost us money either way. And we have to do remediation out at the Swan Ranch to take care of the contaminated soil that we've contaminated through the asbestos and the lead paint removal. There's some cost that I don't think quite honestly, I think we probably got into this as a council pretty excited that Union Pacific was going to give us these cars without really recognizing or realizing what was going to be involved long-term total as far as restoration. And, they may have to be basically scrapped and sold for scrap metal or sold to somebody. I don't know. I don't personally care how we get rid of them, but in addition to these three, we have a fourth car out there that we don't even have a plan for. So what in the heck are we doing? I'm a no vote on this. And it's not because I don't support downtown businesses in 15th Street. I think I've proven that I do. What I don't support is that we are over-promising and under-delivering, and we don't have a plan that's been approved and is committing our funds to 15th Street.
Mr. Escobar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I've heard a lot about static displays, and I guess the big boy locomotive in Holiday Park is a static display, and that route that I take from my home to city council, it's not a day I don't go by and someone's not there taking pictures of it. Even when I was actively working for the railroad, 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, people were over there taking hand pictures by it. Some were even painting it, even though they weren't supposed to be in the park at that time. In 1996, Union Pacific and Southern Pacific, Union Pacific acquired Southern Pacific, and they merged. And some of the locomotives that were Southern Pacific were painted Union Pacific colors, and because some of the numbers overlapped, so they wouldn't have the same numbers. And there's no reason why these cars at some point, with Union Pacific's permission, wouldn't be painted in Union Pacific colors and renumbered. So, this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as what we're able to do with these cars, and the tourism dollars that are, can be brought in just by seeing people that are interested in our railroad history as well. So having the museum, having Old Sadie and these cars, I think will bring a lot more walking traffic to 15th Street. Hopefully it'll help these businesses as well. And I look forward to seeing the final project.
Dr. Emmons.
Mr. Mayor, through you. I was glad that Councilwoman Aldrich brought up Darren Rudloff, because for some reason I just got an email from him. I don't know if everybody did or not, but I just want to tell you that in this email, he talks about going back to 2000 and dealing with the plaza and the hanging lights in the depot and how awful the situation was and how it was a depressed, empty, and largely overlooked by residents and visitors, and now it's the center of so much that we do. But the thing that I think was really important that he said was The 15th Rail Experience continues this effort by building on our railroad strengths at the depot and expanding them further along 15th Street. Certainly, there are many details, some controversial for the city to negotiate. However, Cheyenne is achieving progress with its railroad efforts downtown. So I think that's really important since he was very closely involved with this. And the other thing I want to say is if the issue is we can't get our ducks in a row to get things done, that's on us. That's something we need to do. And we own that. So I don't see any reason we can't do it. I mean, we are a group of intelligent people with hundreds of intelligent people who work for us, and there's no reason we can't get this done. So for that reason, I'm going to be a yes on this tonight.
Mr. Laybourne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the latitude you've shown thus far in this discussion so that we really haven't just narrowly looked at this expenditure, but we looked more broadly at the interests that these people have brought to us, because it is a difficult thing for the city to admit that we haven't followed through like we should have. And in that regard, I want to refer us to, well, first of all, Mr. Mayor, I want to note something that hasn't been part of this discussion thus far. And that is the amount of sixth penny money from that downtown $6 million that the voters approved that went into our attraction itself. Our attraction is a magnificent depot. It needed some improvements and some maintenance. And we've just basically accomplished that, and part of it's yet to go. I hope everyone goes and notices what has happened with the paved patio immediately outside of the depot lobby itself, which was never constructed and finished since the depot was created itself. So that's an area that we recently had a ribbon cutting, and is an opportunity for the public to go out there and really experience what the railroad's all about, which is those trains moving up and down the track. And the coffee shop that is included, which I think over time will prove to be effective. So, and as well as a lot of the improvements, the doors, the windows, that are now underway with Mr. Sanchez and his group. So it's not that we're not caring or acting or spending in regard to our tourism efforts. We are. And where we're spending them is the attraction itself. Those funds support our railroad museum. It's a high-quality railroad museum. It's right there. They support the gift shop, which is a high-quality railroad-oriented gift shop, which is right there. And it also supports, most importantly, the visitor center that is right there. So it is a improvement and a commitment to the true attraction, which is our magnificent depot. So that's underway. It is not to be ignored, but it certainly hasn't been mentioned tonight or in this discussion in general. We are working to improve our tourism efforts at our main site. Moving on here, the 15th Street Corridor Improvement Plan, $100,000 that basically began the entire question of the rail cars. And when this plan was analyzed by the city staff, they found that it was unworkable. They found that it was unrealistic. And we therefore signed a contract for $153,000 to redo it, which is what has happened. And that's where a lot of this confusion comes from. I don't know how realistic these expectations are, But certainly when you get to the question of creation of another plaza at the Gunslinger site, you have to really wonder what we're doing here. And I've heard a lot of figures thrown around here tonight, but I want to go back to the actual figure here of public funds from the city, $987,000. That's to paint the cars and move them. That doesn't bring any lights. That doesn't connect up any utilities to the cars. And these cars, in case you haven't been out to see them, are utterly stripped to the bare metal. Any improvements within are very difficult and expensive. So what we've really got here is a situation where these individuals have invested, I think, more than just the money. They invested in their community. They believed that we were going to follow through on the plans that we developed. And those have been a number of years since then. And I'm glad we had some discussion here tonight about the other elements of the West Edge. The intent was always to connect to the pump house. The intent was always to connect to the Reed Avenue corridor. The intention was always to deal with those railroad-related issues that would allow us, or others who might be able to do it, to get those parking lots in and light them. Well, that didn't happen. And it didn't happen for a number of reasons. And more than anything else, I want to tell the members of the public here something that I heard during, and I think it's an apt analogy. It isn't my analogy, but it was an analogy that I heard in the Finance Committee. And that analogy is that this is a down payment to the continuation and the construction of 15th Street as some of these expectations might be. So if we look at that analogy and we call it a down payment, I think we have to look at who makes the continuing payments. And those are, as we know, depending on phase 1, phase 2, I don't know how far down that goes now, but phase 1 obviously is $1.5 million. At least that was the figure. So when we look at that down payment of almost $1 million to paint these cars, we have to consider who's going to make the rest of those payments. We're going to make the rest of those payments. And when these cars come back, if they're approved here tonight, and this is it, make no mistake, we're not doing this halfway. Painting these rail cars and moving them to the paint site and moving them back downtown is this amount of money, period. To be accomplished next spring to qualify for that ever elusive grant from the Economic Development Authority. So let's realistically take a look at where our finances are going to be a year from now, that next budget. Does anyone here think or believe, and there's been mention here tonight of this in several different ways, this is an unprecedented period of time. This isn't anything like normal. This isn't anything that you good people and solid business people have ever seen or experienced before. We're not going to have the money to follow through on some of these ambitions. There's just no doubt about it. So when those cars come back a year from now, and you're going to be expecting us to follow through on phase 1, 2, 3, and who knows, up on the corridor or down on the pump house, I believe that any realistic evaluation of the financial condition of this country, this state, and this city suggests that we will not have the funds that we used to have or that could have ever been used in this purpose. And it's my belief that this almost $1 million could have done a heck of a lot in lighting, in making those parking lots more functional, in helping connect to those, to that connection that is very near to the rail spur establishment itself. Super important, super expensive, and super difficult. So I speak against this motion because when this comes back a year from now, reality will have set in. And that reality is that our finances are going to be quite different. And we don't really know what the legislature is going to do. We're not sure what those federal grants are going to be like. But I am sure that we're going to spend almost $1 million to paint these cars green and move them down there. And the rest of those worthy elements that are underway and planned by our second group of consultants, okay, we're up to $250,000 in those consultancies alone, we're not going to be able to do it. So in conclusion, I want to say that Mr. Cobb has worked with me diligently for some time on this project. He's taken me out there to see the cars. We have meetings from time to time, and he explains the correspondence he has with the UP. I think he's been diligent in his efforts, but those efforts have been absolutely jinxed, I guess is the way to put it, by the way this has all come together and this financial crisis that I hope we all realize is coming our way. The legislature's been real clear about this. They're not kidding. And what they're going to do, who knows? So I don't know if I can do more than apologize that we weren't more directed and really looked at the essentials of that vision that all these property owners bought into. And 15th Street is super important. But I will say this, we are taking care of the depot. We are working on tourism development. That's underway. This expenditure, we'll be dealing with it. I'm going to be here, God willing, next spring, and we're going to be talking about who knows what. But certainly in my mind, our employees and the management of the city is far more important than a continuation of this type of planning. So I apologize, at least personally. I wish we were not in this position, but this is not a down payment. This is a waste of money. Thank you.
Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Thank you, everybody, for your public comments. Really do appreciate it. But I will continue to be a no vote as I was during Finance Committee. During that meeting, it was stated that we cannot keep digging deeper where we're at now. We've already spent over $500,000 in asbestos, and you heard how much we spent on consulting. The project is a problem. Back to the cars themselves. They will not be Union Pacific color. They're going to be this green color. If these were the cars that go from here to Cheyenne, down to Denver during Frontier Days, that would be a very different story. Those cars are immaculate. I think we all agree we like those cars a lot, but they're not. And plus these cars, they're Southern Pacific from California. They're not Union Pacific cars. Yes, Union Pacific acquired 1996, but these cars are from the 1920s. So 100 years old. They're not ones from our state. I am somebody that loves railroads. Have since I was a little boy as I stayed in the Finance Committee. Always loved the Lionel trains, always loved steam engines, etc. But I want authenticity as a railroad enthusiast, and this is not one of them. It's not one of them. Okay, because these cars were from South Pacific, it's why Union Pacific probably gifted to us. Okay, again, if they were the cars going to Denver, different story. We keep hearing that the only reason the cars are in place is to revitalize 15th Street. I don't disagree. We need to fix the sidewalks on 15th Street, downtown, other parts of the city. I don't disagree with that. The lighting is bad down there at 15th Street. I can say as somebody who drives Uber from time to time, it's very dark there. I don't disagree with that. And that's also a basic function of government. If this was to support that, I would be an aye vote instantaneously. I get it. What I would like to see the DDA focus on as part of our master downtown plan that we approved a couple months ago to improve the basics, to improve the sidewalks, to improve it on 15th Street and all of downtown. I don't see it being met. We got to go back to the basics. Those are the basics there of government. Our constituents vote for 5th and 6th penny taxes. I know this is matching grants and that. I get that. And this is not the 6 penny. But you got to think about this. We're going to have 6 penny ballot in 2026. Let's say we approve this. I understand each 6 penny item is individual. Firehouses, downtown improvement, etc. I get that. But perception is reality. Perception is reality. Our constituents are going to say, and I've gotten emails mostly all saying no, don't approve this, by the way. Some of those unfortunately have been in junk mail, so apologize to my constituents for late replies. They're going to say, well, you spend $1 million to paint the cars green, not even Union Pacific value. Why should we approve these 6 penny ballot initiatives, even ones that are vital like firehouses? And again, you know, firehouses, I'm going to push that to make sure it does get approved through 6 penny because I think everybody would agree with that. But then what about the downtown improvements? That could be voted down. Or future recreation. I've heard that. We hear about the Johnson Pool, you know, and the south side is often overlooked. That could not be approved because of this. So we have to look at the long-term consequences. And I'll say, as I said in Finance Committee, our constituents voted to get rid of some of government waste at the federal level here in Cheyenne, Laramie County, at the state level, at the local level. Whether you support the residential property tax relief or not, that's not the debate. We're going to have less money. There's no question about that. Whether you support it or not, that's not the question. That's not our debate at this time. We are going to have less money. I don't want to make promises I can't make, you know, a year from now. And I know what it's like to have, you know, a small business. I run an Airbnb. Granted, it's a little bit different, but I get it. There's a lot of work that goes into it. I didn't think it was going to be successful at first, and now here I am. So I understand the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into being a business owner. I get it, and I get the investment there. But if it was just to improve the sidewalks, improve the bricks, improve the lighting, the parking just in that area, I would absolutely support this 110%. But not with these rail cars, and especially ones that are not related to Wyoming and Cheyenne. These are not Union Pacific cars. Okay, remember, Union Pacific didn't acquire this till 1996. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else? Dr. Rooney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to clear up a couple things. The opponents keep saying we're spending $987,000 on this. Yes, we are, but we still have $450,000 left of the EDA grant. So, so you can take that off that total, and you'll have a little more accurate number. It's been mentioned several times that we're going to paint them green. I know that's what's been talked about, but in truth, we may be allowed to use UP colors. All we have to do is write a letter and request that and see what they say. That letter, my understanding, has been sent. So that may change by the time we're ready to paint them in January. And to point out, I know that Mr. Rudloff's name has been used several times, and And my colleague from Ward 2 has, the councilwoman from Ward 2 referred to an email that he sent in support of the project. However, she left off his last sentence, which is, I urge your continued support for the 15th Street Rail Experience project. I have to say, Mr. Mayor, also in going to Neighborhood Night Out, I only had a handful of people even talk to me about bring this up. So, and in the end, and those people were actually in favor of it. So, I'm not sure it's the burning issue out there that some of my colleagues are purporting it to be. Going back with a little bit of history, when I was first elected to council in 1988, I was told by everybody that Cheyenne is prime for business. We have 2 interstates, we have 2 railroads, and we have low property taxes, and and that's all that's required. If we have water, we have good streets. But we were losing out businesses to Fort Collins, Loveland, Greeley, even though they had higher taxes. And really the reason was they were viewed as a better place to live. So when people tell me that it is our job to provide for streets, to provide for curbs, to provide for bridges, to provide police and fire, what they're telling me is what I heard in 1989. And that didn't work back then. The biggest issues back then was, why aren't we recruiting businesses? Why aren't we getting jobs here? Why can't we have something for our jobs for our kids to take? And my argument back then was that, yes, this, really all that isn't enough. And really what it means is we need to start building more amenities. We need to build greenways, and I ran on that. We need to improve our parks. We need to expand our parks, and we need to give, and we need to do things to make Cheyenne a more attractive place to live and a place where people will want to stop by, come off the interstate, and spend some more money here. We have done a good job. It's been slower than I would like over the years, but we have done a good job, and you can tell because now, we've got 6 data centers in progress at the moment. We've become a mecca for data centers. We now have, most places you walk into, there's a help wanted sign. So I think we have made great progress over the years, and some of that is just because, yes, we have taken care of needs. I think we had $14 million on the last 6 penny to go to streets. I had a contractor that was an acquaintance of mine that said, it's great we have nice streets, but we have to have something in this town for people to drive to. We just don't want our streets to be an avenue for them to drive out of town and spend their money elsewhere. So I know, Mr. Mayor, I apologize, I'm kind of rambling, it's late. I am really hungry and my brain doesn't function so well when I get to that point. But it is not only our job to take care of the basics, which we are doing, but it is our job to make this Cheyenne a better place to live. People look at Cheyenne because, businesses look at Cheyenne because of the name and because of our low taxes. But when they get here, they have to have something, or their spouses or their family has to have something that makes them want to stay. And so we need to continue to invest in ourselves. And this is just one more thing. Yeah, it's small. It's not going to attract a lot of people, but it's still one more attraction that makes Cheyenne a little more desirable. And so I would, obviously we've all spoken our piece, and I'll wrap this up, but I think we should support it.
All right, anybody else? All right. The motion is to restore some rail cars. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
Can I see the hands of the noes? Dr. Aldridge, Mr. Laybourne, and Mr. Moody are noes.
Hope everybody got that.
The bid is approved as amended.
Next item is 26A on page 6, voucher report.
All right, is there anybody in the audience or on the governing body that would like to discuss the vouchers? All right, hearing none, next item, please.
Announcement that a Calcutta benefiting Cheyenne area charities will be held on Saturday, July 26, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the Cowboy Bistro located beside the Rodeo Committee cabin at Frontier Park, Cheyenne, Wyoming, in conjunction with the 2025 Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo. 10% of proceeds go to bona fide charities. Announcement of a public hearing to be held July 28, 2025 at 6 o'clock p.m. in City Council Chambers, 2101 O'Neill Avenue, Cheyenne, Wyoming, and via electronic conference meeting for a transfer of ownership of restaurant liquor license application filed with the City Clerk's Office for Pathos Business LLC, doing business as Bellafuco, 2115 Warren Avenue, Cheyenne, Wyoming. License currently held by Penstaman Business LLC, doing business as Bellafuco. Other business.
All right, this is an opportunity if anybody wants to speak to the governing body under other business. Anybody in the audience or online? Okay, how about from the governing body?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Roybal.
So, Tuesday, I had occasion to go out to the new senior center and have lunch. I was given a tour, and since most of the people up here are eligible, just saying, most of the people up here are eligible. It's a very class operation. Everything was really clean. It was nice. The food was nutritious. The sizes were right. I enjoyed it. They had people doing exercise. I stayed away from that room. And they have a movie room. They have they even have an elevator, so that helped. But yeah, if you have a chance, I would encourage you to go out and check it out. It's very classic.
Mr. Mayor, to follow up on that, I think they have an open house at 3 o'clock on Thursday.
Anybody else under other business? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here. I know it was a long meeting. Appreciate it.